Chapter 101, Part 1. Here is SBTV's report from the studio. The monster codenamed Abomination, the destruction that lasted for a week, has finally come to an end. It was neither the military and police, nor the FBI and CIA that ended this disaster. This unknown hero fell from the sky and saved our country. He is arrogant, but kind-hearted. He is low-key, but respected by everyone. He can use the pranks given to mankind by God to perfection, and he can play super tricks that can be called art. Is he the incarnation of a god or the messenger of hell? We still know nothing about this unknown hero. However, the people he saved have now begun to spontaneously choose hero codenames for him. The most popular name currently is Monster in Disguise, J. For the latest news about this second superhero in the new century after Iron Man, our station will continue to bring you relevant reports. Washington, D.C., SHIELD headquarters, Tri-Curved Wing Building. Director Nick Fury was sitting in his office, watching the news on TV with a blank expression. Just then, there was a knock on the door. Come in. After Fury finished speaking, he saw Phil Coulson pushing the door open and walking in. The whole person was dusty, and his face was full of exhaustion. Apparently, he had just finished dealing with the Abomination incident and rushed back without stopping. Director, the problem on the Abomination side has been solved. The opponent returned to his normal human form after being knocked unconscious. He is currently being held in the pirate prison and receiving treatment and evaluation. Fury was obviously not very interested in what Phil Coulson reported. He spoke directly and asked Phil Coulson, "What's going on with that, geek in disguise?" Phil Coulson was obviously stunned when he heard Nick Fury's question. Regarding Monster in Disguise, to be honest, I still can't believe the explanation Dr. Banner gave me. According to Dr. Banner, while evading pursuit by the military, he met a god who claimed to be Loki. This god helped him seal the power of Hulk in his body into the mask, so when he puts on the mask, he will be protected by the god of mischief and have incredible abilities. That's why Dr. Banner asked us to go to the ruins of the base in the Sierra Nevada to help him retrieve the mysterious wooden mask. But when he put on that mask and transformed into a geek in disguise, I admit that I was really frightened. Although I still don't believe in the existence of any gods, it is undeniable that it is definitely not a human being. What technology can do? Loki. When he heard Phil Coulson mention this name, Nick Fury's eyes clearly showed a slight fluctuation. If I'm not wrong, this Loki should be Thor's brother and the father of Elsa and Anna. Has this god of mischief in Norse mythology returned to Earth again? Fury and I thought in my heart. Thinking of this, Fury recalled that when he could still see with two eyes, he had seen Elsa, Anna, and Carol with his own eyes, just with the power of the three of them. It destroyed an alien fleet with advanced technology and powerful firepower. That kind of power, Fury can't forget to this day. And with the development of various science and technologies on the Earth, Fury has become increasingly clear that with the current strength of the Earth, there is no way to compete with alien civilizations like the Kree Empire. If not for some time ago, along with the Tesseract, Anna and Carol left him a communicator, and these two powerful superheroes could be contacted when the Earth encountered an emergency. Fury will definitely have sleepless nights because of this increasingly chaotic world. Agent Phil Coulson, can you tell what the ability is after Banner puts on the mask and transforms? Phil Coulson shook his head. Judging from Dr. Banner's performance in fighting Abomination after his transformation, I can't tell what his specific ability is. But according to Dr. Banner's description, his ability is inseparable from pranks. Fury nodded and once again confirmed his judgment. This matter must have been done by the Loki he knew, and he didn't run away. Then what do you think the superhero's upper limit is? Fury asked again. Hearing Fury's question, the expression on Phil Coulson's face became increasingly bitter. As for the upper limit of geek in disguise, I can't judge yet. But when it comes to his lower limit, I think even if 3 or even 4 hates attack him at the same time, I'm afraid they won't be a match for Granny in Disguise. Judging from his performance in the battle with Abomination, Ghost in Disguise can be said to have crushed him all the way, and Abomination had no power to fight back at all. Fury did not respond to Phil Coulson's answer. He just silently took out a document from the drawer, and then added the names Bruce Banner and Geek in Disguise on the document. As for Phil Coulson, who was standing in front of Fury's desk, he could vaguely see what appeared to be Avengers Project written on the cover of the document. Okay, Agent Phil Coulson, thank you for coming over to report. I have arranged for Natasha Romanoff to take charge of Tony Stark's affairs. You and Thor will take a good rest for a while. Before Fury finished speaking, he heard the landline on his desk ring. He raised his hand to signal Phil Coulson to wait a moment, and then picked up the phone. Well, hi Wong, okay, I understand. Contact Agent Barton for me, and tell him that his vacation ends early, that's it. After hanging up the phone, Fury looked at Phil Coulson with a slightly apologetic look and said, Sorry, Agent Phil Coulson, your vacation with Thor has been ruined. There is news from New Mexico that an unusual incident has occurred. I need you to handle this matter as the commander. In addition to Thor, I have also arranged for Barton, who will join you later. The local SHIELD agents will also be fully cooperating with you. Any questions? Agent Phil Coulson. If the leader has said this, what other problems can the subordinates have? Phil Coulson could only force out a smile and replied, Sir, no problem. Asking for flowers, asking for favorites, asking for monthly votes. If you like it, please comment and share for free. Chapter 102, Part 1. After today's exciting trip, Tony Stark, who flew halfway around the world on a private plane, finally returned to his estate on the beach in Malibu. For Tony, today is really an exciting day. He first participated in the Monaco F1 race, then met a strong man with a plasma whiplock who wanted to kill him, and finally was scolded by his girlfriend Pepper. To have such an experience in the last period of my life is considered to be a life worth living, Tony said to himself as he entered the villa. JRVIS, it's so dark at home. Why don't you turn on the lights? As soon as the words came out of his mouth, and I already noticed that something was wrong, because based on his understanding of the program he designed, it is absolutely impossible for JRVIS to make such a low-level mistake, unless someone hacked the JRVIS system. Otherwise, it would be impossible for JRVIS not to respond to his question. Just as he was about to find some handy weapons to defend himself, a voice came from the dark living room. Did you have fun today? Tony. Hearing that someone was actually talking in his house, Tony, who was just a little wary at first, immediately raised his vigilance to the highest level. Don't be nervous, Tony. After all, we are old acquaintances. We haven't seen each other for so many years, and I came all the way here to see you. Your expression will make me very sad. The voice in the darkness spoke again. Came. Who are you? Hearing the other party say that they were old acquaintances also made Tony seem to recall some very long memories. In these memories, he seemed to have indeed heard the voice of this mysterious man. But no matter how hard he tried to recall, he couldn't match this somewhat familiar voice to a specific name and appearance. Everyone in the media said you were a great genius. I thought you could remember my voice. I remember when you were no taller than my knees, you called me Uncle Loki every time you saw me. Tony was so cute back then. As Loki took the initiative to reveal his identity, all the lights in the room came on. Under the light, Tony could clearly see a man wearing a dark green suit sitting on the sofa in his living room. At the same time, the voice of JRVIS also sounded in the house. Sorry, sir. I was not able to detect the intruder immediately. Okay, JRVIS, leave the rest to me. Let me catch up with Uncle Loki. Tony came and sat down opposite Loki. After hearing Loki's name, he finally remembered the other person's identity. Loki Odinson is one of his father's best friends, Howard Stark, and the father of his childhood best friend Anna. Just judging from his appearance, the other person seems to be younger than him, a junior. How did you do it? Originally, I was very satisfied with the programming of JRVIS. After all, since the last time someone broke into this room in the same way as you, I have fully upgraded its system. Pass. But I didn't expect that the same thing happened again. Tony looked curiously at the elder who had not seen him for a long time, but still looked young and handsome and asked, Well, I really didn't expect that the first question you asked after you recognized me would be like this. I thought you would at least care about Anna's situation first. Hearing Loki mention Anna, the expression on Tony's face was obviously a little unnatural. After all, as his first crush, Anna was also his childhood goddess. But after he returned from studying abroad, he could no longer contact Anna, and the two had no chance to meet. Coupled with the fact that his father Howard and mother Maria were assassinated by foreign spies, Tony gradually let go of this secret love in his youth, and in the process of getting along with Pepper, he slowly fell in love with this strong woman. Ha ha ha, your frustrated expression is so funny. I was just joking, don't take it seriously. As for the question you just asked, to be honest, I didn't do anything to your JRVIS at all. That's impossible. Tony immediately denied it after recovering from the embarrassment just now. If you didn't do anything to JRVIS, why didn't the lights in the room automatically turn on when I came in just now? How come JRVIS didn't respond to my words? Looking at Tony, who stood up from the sofa in excitement, Loki showed a proud smile on his face. It's very simple. As long as I control your 5 senses, can't everything be explained reasonably? You said that the lights in the room are not on, but it's not that JRVIS didn't turn on the lights, but that your eyes have been blinded by me. As for why JRVIS doesn't respond to you, that's not because there is no response. It's just that you didn't hear it. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Control my 5 senses. How could anyone do this? Tony was so excited when he heard Loki's answer that he even made Prime Minister Chow's classic emoticon. Really? Since there are things that humans can't do, then, what if I am God? As soon as Loki finished speaking, Tony felt that the environment around him suddenly began to change. The original night turned directly into day, and his location at the moment also changed from the villa in Starko Manor to thousands of meters in the air. And all this is without him wearing a steel battle suit. Tony wanted to convince himself that this was all fake, that Loki must have used some new holographic projection technology to trick him. But the constant feeling coming from his body, as well as the strong wind that kept blowing on his body during the fall, told him that all this was real and could not be a phantom created through holographic projection. Finally, just as Tony watched helplessly as he was about to fall to the ground, the illusion was shattered. Tony had already laid down on the sofa, his chest heaving violently and breathing heavily. The high-level custom-made suit on his body was soaked with his sweat, and at this moment, when Tony looked at Loki again, in his eyes, Loki was no longer an elder he had not seen for a long time, but 10 devils who could manipulate people at will, asking for flowers, asking for collection, asking for monthly tickets. If you like it, please leave a comment and share it. Chapter 103, Part 1. Are you the devil? Tony couldn't help blurting out. Oh, they say I'm a god. Forget it, don't worry about such trivial matters. I came here to see you today because I heard that you seem to have a physical problem, right? Hearing Loki mention his physical problems, Tony still wanted to be tough. No, there is no problem. In front of my genius, Tony Stark, any problem can be solved. I just haven't found the inspiration yet. Oh, in this case, it seems that the famous Tony Stark does not need the help of this old guy like me. Then I hope you can find inspiration as soon as possible and solve your own problems. Loki knew that Tony was trying to save face and suffer, but he just wanted to tease him. So although Loki promised Howard to help Tony, he still pretended to get up and leave. Wait a minute. As expected, Tony called out to Loki. Can you really help me solve the palladium poisoning problem caused by the arc reactor? Tony didn't know what was wrong with him, that he would place his hopes on someone he could only call himself an acquaintance. Maybe he had failed on this issue too many times, or maybe Tony had temporarily put down his dignity in order not to make Pepper sad. In short, Tony couldn't help but trust Loki when he suddenly appeared in his home and the magical methods he showed just now. I'm sorry, I can't help you solve your problem. However, didn't you say that you just lack an inspiration now? I came to you today just to give you inspiration. Send inspiration? What Tony said to Loki could be said to be completely confusing, and he had no idea what Loki wanted to do. Loki smiled slightly and asked the confused Tony, "You should know who the inventor of arc reactor technology is, right?" "I definitely know that this is a technology developed by my father, but it was only after I successfully miniaturized it that this technology became truly practical." Tony answered directly without thinking. "Actually, you're only half right." Loki was not entirely sure of Tony's answer. "What do you mean? I'm only half right. Do you know the truth about our family better than me?" Tony curled his lips and said in disbelief, "Arc reactor technology does not have practical value because you successfully miniaturized it. It's just that at the time when your father invented it, the technical conditions to miniaturize it were not available. Not only that, even the arc reactor technology you currently have is actually only a semi-finished product. The new elements that can truly perfectly adapt to this technology have actually been created by Howard a long time ago. But for the same reason, Howard was unable to create it due to the limitations of the technology of his time. But he has actually left you clues about everything about the new elements. Howard believes that in the future, with your ability, you will be able to accomplish things that he was not able to accomplish at the time." "How come I don't know these things?" Tony felt a little defensive. In Tony's impression, he had never received any praise from Howard since he was a child. No matter what he did, Howard was always dissatisfied with him. Under such circumstances, how could Howard entrust him with things that he had not completed? Tony couldn't believe that what Loki said was true, or Tony's reason told him that it was true, but because of Tony's feelings about Howard's existence, he instinctively refused to believe the truth of the matter. If you don't believe it, just take a closer look at the future city planning model that Howard left at Stark Industrial Headquarters, and you will know whether what I say is true or false. I think people from SHIELD have also contacted you, right? You may not know that your father, Howard, is actually one of the founders of S.H.I.E.L.D. He also left something in SHIELD, which is specially left for you. You can contact SHIELD and have someone send the thing over. There is something in there that Howard wants to tell you, but is too embarrassed to face it in person. What I said to you. 0. Please give me flowers. Okay, that's all I have to say. I believe that with your IQ and this information, the subsequent problems should be easily solved. I have something to do here. I'm going to New Mexico, so I'll take a step first. I hope you can become more mature next time I see you. Speaking of this, I really don't know what's going on with your father and my father. How come they are so incompetent at educating children? You and my brother are in exactly the same situation. How old are you? Like a child. Loki complained as he opened a portal in front of Tony. He stepped into the portal in one step, and then disappeared into the living room of the temple. Tony, who saw this scene happening with his own eyes, was even more shocked than when he found out that Howard had already created the new elements of the arc reactor. JRVIS, you saw it too, right? It's not going to be another deception this time, right? Sir, you read that right. Mr. Loki did open a space channel in front of you just now, and then left here. JRVIS. I thought he was joking before, but now I seem to start to believe that he is actually a god. But sir, you said you are an authentic materialist. JRVIS. Has anyone ever told you that you are very incapable of observing what is happening? Tony said through gritted teeth. Not yet, sir. If I hear it later, I will give you feedback. After all, my shortcomings mean that your design still has flaws, sir. It seems that I have to fix the loopholes in your program, JRVIS. But before that, contact Agent Phil Coulson for me. I need to talk to their director about the things my father left me. Asking for flowers, asking for collection, asking for monthly votes. If you like it, please comment and share with one. Chapter 104, Part 1. New Mexico, a charming wonderland. Loki definitely has only one purpose in coming here, and that is to help his brother Thor complete his last trial on Earth. And as Thor's training comes to an end, it also means that he is getting closer to the system reward after completing the mission. Before he left the Earth to present treasures to his wife and 2 daughters, he took a trip back to Asgard and asked Odin to send Mjolnir to the Earth through Bifrost. The location where Mjolnir fell on the Earth is the charming wonderland of New Mexico. Loki came here mainly to ensure that everything goes according to his original plan. Around Mjolnir, at the moment there was a crowd of onlookers. However, none of them could get close to Mjolnir in the center of the circle, 540, because the place was now cordoned off by SHIELD agents led by Phil Coulson and began to drive away the surrounding onlookers. Phil Coulson was very nervous at the moment. When he received this mission, he thought that their SHIELD intelligence was wrong and planned to just go through the motions and end it. Unexpectedly, when he arrived at the scene, he discovered that everything mentioned in the intelligence was actually true. In the pit behind him, there lay an ordinary-looking hammer. But even with this mediocre hammer, they, as members of the SHIELD Tower Yard, were unable to shake even an iota of it no matter what methods they used. Phil Coulson knew that things started to get troublesome from this point on. The experience accumulated during his long career as an agent told him that whenever encountering such an almost supernatural event, the mission cannot be ended simply. At this moment, Phil Coulson's cell phone rang in his pocket. He took out the phone and saw that it was a call from Thor. Then he pressed the answer button and asked, Thor, what's the situation over there? Have you heard from Agent Barton? After arriving in New Mexico, Thor followed his arrangement and separated from him. Phil Coulson first went to contact the local SHIELD agents in New Mexico by himself, and then went to the scene to conduct blockade and investigation. As for Thor, he drove to the airport and waited for Clint Barton, who had returned from another mission. The two of them came to the mission site from the airport together. The man has been picked up, and I'm driving with him to meet you. After receiving a positive reply from Thor, Phil Coulson couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Now that the difficulty of this mission is clear, Phil Coulson would really be a little panicked if there were no 2 capable fighters, Barton and Thor, to escort him. However, the experience summarized from countless traffic accidents tells us that people must not be distracted while talking on the phone while driving, otherwise traffic accidents will easily occur. On Thor's side, the front foot just finished communicating with Phil Coulson, and the back foot rear-ended the car in front of him on the road. Then Thor saw 3 people, 2 women and 1 man, settled in the RV that he rear-ended. Judging from the positions of the 3 of them, it was obvious that the tall girl with long chestnut hair and tall figure was the main one among them. But Thor at the moment no longer has the extra time to analyze this information. There is only one thought in his mind. Why is his heartbeat so fast? Was he frightened because of the car accident? Or he was captured by the beautiful woman who appeared in front of the car and looked at him with an angry face? Thor could swear to the king of God Odin that this was the first time in his more than 1,000 years of life that he had such a strong heartbeat for a person of the opposite sex. This feeling was never felt by Sif even when he first fell in love. Hey, what are you doing? Are you out of your mind? Why are you looking at me like this? Come down here and explain things clearly. I saw the other party constantly patting the hood, looking menacing. Since he was on a mission and didn't want to cause trouble, Barton quickly poked Thor's waist and whispered, Hey, Thor, stop staring at me. When Thor came back to his senses, he also showed an embarrassed expression and quickly opened the car door and came to the other party to apologize. Forget it, Jane. Since they are willing to compensate us for our losses and apologize to us, don't hold on to us anymore. Besides, these 2 people are so handsome, why not let them leave their phone numbers? Which one do you like? I'll let you choose first when the time comes. At this time, following the woman who was attracted by Thor, a plump girl wearing black-rimmed glasses whispered. Her words were also captured by Thor, who was not far away, so he excitedly asked the other party, Is your name Jane? My name is Thor Odinson. You can call me Thor. My phone number is XXXXXXXX. Seeing Thor looking like he was possessed, Barton knew that he would not be able to do anything about this matter today. Barton quickly got out of the car and forced Thor back into the cab. Then he took out the fake FBI ID in his hand to scare the other party, and finally told the other party the insurance number of their car and asked the other party to go through the insurance process to settle the claim. It only took Barton less than a minute to process all of this. Then, regardless of the other party's response, he got back into the car and asked Thor to drive to the scene quickly. Thor reluctantly looked at the girl named Jane, but at Barton's urging, he started to reverse the car and prepared to continue setting off. But at this moment, Phil Coulson called. Having learned the lesson just now, Thor did not answer the phone this time, but handed the phone to Barton in the passenger seat. "This is Barton. What are your orders, sir?" Didn't I dial Thor's number?" "Forget it. It's the same for both of you. It's like this. Before you 1.2 arrive at the mission site, there is a temporary mission that you need to complete," Phil Coulson said on the phone. "What mission?" "On the way you are driving here, you should pass through a small town. I need you to find a RV in the town with the license plate number XXXXXXX. The owner of the RV is named Jane Foster. She has some experimental equipment and experimental data related to our mission. You have to bring these things to me." Hearing this, Barton looked up at the RV that was rear-ended by them, and then said to the phone, "No problem. We'll get out of the car now to complete the mission. Asking for flowers, asking for collection, asking for monthly tickets. If you like it, please leave a comment and share it." Chapter 105, Part 1. "Agent Barton and Agent Thor, I need you to explain to me what is happening now?" Phil Coulson asked with a rare dark face, pointing to the RV behind the two of them and the three living people in the RV. "Well, you listen to my quibbles, that's not right. You listen to my explanation." Thor was about to argue with Phil Coulson, but was immediately interrupted by Barton on the side. "Okay, Thor, you take the three people behind to settle down first, and I'll explain to Commander Phil Coulson." "Well, you have to say a few more good words for me, brother. My happiness depends entirely on you." Thor whispered something in Barton's ear, and then ran towards Jane Foster in the RV without even glancing at what their mission target looked like. I don't know if Thor will regret that he was blinded by beauty when he later finds out that it is Mjolnir who has been separated from him for a long time. Seeing Thor's stupid look of falling in love, Barton shook his head, came to Phil Coulson and said, "In short, we bumped into the target person on the road by coincidence. And by chance, Thor fell in love with the other person at first sight. So Thor couldn't bear to directly steal the other person's experimental equipment and experimental data. So after Jane Foster's pleading, Thor fell directly. In order to complete the mission, I can only bring people and cars here." After listening to Barton's explanation, Phil Coulson showed no sign of getting angry anymore. Instead, he showed a look of surprise on his face and said in disbelief, "I didn't expect that Thor, a reckless man, would one day fall into the land of gentleness and find it hard to in the final analysis. Although Thor's behavior this time violated his mission instructions, the overall impact was not significant. After all, Jane Foster and the others were the ones who knew the most about those experimental equipment and data. If the other party can promise to provide them with some professional guidance, that might not be a bad thing. And to be honest, even if Phil Coulson really wanted to punish Thor, a person who had a relationship with the director, he didn't have the authority." After some friendly communication from Phil Coulson, Jane Foster and Dr. Eric Selvig agreed to temporarily join their mission as scientific advisors to help with data analysis and guidance. As for Jane's graduate student Daisy, she continues to stay with Jane and does some odd jobs. In fact, Jane originally didn't want to agree, but after she heard from Eric that one of his friends, the famous nuclear physicist Dr. Bruce Banner, was investigated by S.H.I.E.L.D., there was no news from him. For the safety of the three of them, Jane finally agreed to Phil Coulson's proposal. And Jane seemed to have some different feelings for that silly big man whom she had just met. Loki, who had been secretly watching all this happen, no longer knew what to say to Thor. Although the three Jane Fosters happened to appear on the path Thor and Barton must pass, they were specially arranged by him. But Loki didn't expect that his eldest brother would be so careless about his job. When he saw the beautiful woman, he couldn't even walk. Until now, he hadn't realized that the item he had to deal with in this mission was Mjolnir, who was in his heart. Until this time, Loki finally began to worry about whether his system task could be successfully completed. It seems it's time to give Thor something serious. As he spoke, Loki looked up at the sky and called out, "Heimdall, start taking action." Far away in Asgard, Heimdall, who was ordered by God King Odin to cooperate with Loki in this operation, has been paying attention to every move of Loki and Thor on Earth. When he saw that Thor had actually met the person of his heart, he, who had always shown off his poker face, couldn't help but smile like an ant on his face. However, after Loki gave him the order, Heimdall took action immediately. According to Loki's previous arrangement, the three pioneer warriors Fandral, Hogun, and Volstagg were sent to Earth via Bifrost. The appearance of Bifrost and the three Asgard warriors immediately attracted the attention of S.H.I.E.L.D., Sir Phil Coulson. The space fluctuations we detected a few days ago have appeared again. It's not far from our current location. After receiving the report from Dr. Eric Selvig, Phil Coulson immediately began arranging manpower to go to the abnormal location pointed out by the other party to investigate. All SHIELD personnel in the entire temporary base became nervously busy at this moment. However, among them, there was only one exception, and that was Thor, who had been stunned on the spot after seeing Bifrost appear. As a native of Asgard, Thor, who has been using Bifrost to travel between the 9 kingdoms since he was a child, how could he not recognize the appearance of Bifrost? But what surprised and puzzled him was why Asgard's Bifrost appeared in Midgard. Could it be that, my father decided to end my exile, so he sent someone to Midgard to take me back? Thor guessed this in his heart, and suddenly felt a burst of ecstasy. But soon, Thor's expression became tangled. Because if Odin really sends someone to take him back, doesn't that mean that the love between him and Jane will end before it even begins? However, Thor had no time to think too much now. Seeing that the people arranged by Phil Coulson had already boarded the car and were about to leave for the location where Bifrost fell, Thor hurriedly ran to Phil Coulson and applied to go with him in the car. Phil Coulson was also quite surprised that Thor suddenly took the initiative to apply for a mission. Because since Jane Foster appeared, Thor has been following her like a follower, and he is not too concerned about this mission. But now I suddenly want to apply myself to participate in a mission to explore an abnormal location. Anyone else would be surprised by this. However, since Thor has applied voluntarily, Phil Coulson does not intend to dampen Thor's enthusiasm. Anyway, there are other agents working together on this task, so I simply agreed to Thor's request. Just when Thor got the mission approval and was about to set off, Jane Foster appeared behind him, blinking her big shining eyes, and said to Thor expectantly, "I want to follow you too. Is it okay to conduct some research and investigation on site?" How could Thor refuse Jane's request to him? He patted his chest and agreed on the spot, then turned around like a grandson, holding Phil Coulson's thigh and begging him to agree to Jane's participation in the team. Phil Coulson sighed and said to Thor seriously, "Thor, I can agree to this matter, as long as they give me a copy of the data after the investigation is completed. But as someone who has been there, I still want to remind you, you must not be a licker in a relationship, you know? Licking a dog, you will have nothing left in the end." After saying that, Phil Coulson ignored Thor, who was confused, patted the other party on the shoulder, turned around and continued working. For Thor, who is really in a relationship for the first time, it is normal that he cannot understand Phil Coulson's golden words. On the contrary, Barton, who heard the conversation between the two not far away, nodded in agreement and thought to himself, Thor is still too young. I just don't know if Barton will one day find out that Thor is older than his great-grandfather's great-grandfather, and he won't feel embarrassed by his thoughts today. Soon, Thor and the agents involved in the mission, along with Jane Foster and 3 others, drove to a desert less than 10 kilometers away from their mission location. And the sharp-eyed Thor saw the 3 familiar figures walking in the desert before he even got out of the car. While the other agents were still wary of the 3 weirdly dressed guys, Thor couldn't wait to open the car door and rush towards the 3 men, because he had already recognized that the 3 figures in the desert were none other than his best friends in Asgard, the famous 3 Asgard warriors, Vanda Hogan and Volstagg. The 3 warriors were also very excited when they saw Thor running towards them. They had not seen each other for more than 10 years since Thor was exiled to Midgard by Odin. The reunion between friends after a long separation caused Thor and the 3 warriors to hug each other tightly. The SHIELD agents who were on the sidelines didn't know what was going on. Chapter 105, Part 2. Seeing that Thor knew each other, they didn't pay attention to why the 3 warriors were dressed so strangely and why they appeared in this wilderness where abnormal phenomena occurred. For 10 only Jane, who originally said she was going to come here to do research, did not immediately start collecting data with Dr. Eric. Instead, she walked up to Thor curiously and asked, "Thor, are they your friends?" Hearing the goddess in his heart ask him a question, Thor naturally happily introduced the 3 warriors to Jane. "Yes, they are my friends, and they are my good brothers from life to death, Fandral, Hogan, and Volstagg." The 3 warriors do not have Heimdall's eyes that can penetrate the 9 realms. The 3 people who met Jane Foster for the first time did not understand why Thor would introduce their identities to a mortal so solemnly. However, Fandral, the smartest among the 3 warriors, quickly saw the ambiguous relationship between Thor and Jane, and then glanced at the other 2 companions. Hogan immediately received Fandral's signal, and his attitude towards Jane became enthusiastic. Only Volstagg, the stubborn one, still looks confused. Fortunately, this Henin always looked carefree and did not cause any embarrassing situations. "By the way, you haven't told me yet. Why did Heimdall send you here?" After a brief reminiscing, Thor asked the 3 warriors the question he was most concerned about. The 3 warriors looked at each other and realized that they had indeed come with a mission today. It's just that compared to the previous test of their actual combat ability and on-the-spot reaction, this task is a test of their spirit. Because according to the instructions of Odin and Loki, they must tell a big lie to Thor, their best friend and brother. "Thor, we have some bad news to bring you when we come down to Earth this time." "What bad news?" Hearing Fandral say this and seeing the solemn expression on his face made Thor's heart suddenly lift into his throat. Your mother, Her Royal Highness the God Queen Frigga, was assassinated by the remnants of the Dark Elves who infiltrated Asgard and died. What did you say? Asking for flowers, asking for collection, asking for monthly tickets. If you like it, please leave a comment and share it. Chapter 106, Part 1. Facing the shocked and angry Thor, Fandral patiently told him the whole story. You know, Thor, now Loki is dead, Sif and Elsa have returned to Jotunheim, and Anna has also left Asgard and started wandering around in the universe. Coupled with the fact that you have been exiled to Midgard, Asgard's high-end combat power is unprecedentedly empty. The interval between His Highness Odin falling into the Eye of Odin has become shorter and shorter recently. The Dark Elves seized this opportunity and launched revenge on Asgard. Their stealth ship fooled Heimdall's eyes, and the fearless Dark Elves caused huge amounts of chaos in Asgard. And their leader Malekith took advantage of the chaos to break into the palace and killed Her Royal Highness the God Queen Frigga. Having said this, Fandral has not forgotten Loki's previous reminder, choked up symbolically, and then wiped away non-existent tears. Although Fandral's acting skills are at the level of a fish, it can be said to be very poor. However, the audience he has to face is Thor, a very nervous guy, and Thor is really not very sensitive to this aspect of perception. So even with Fandral's poor acting skills, he still easily gains Sua's trust. Damn it, if I were here, if I were here. Thor kept repeating the same sentence. Tears couldn't stop flowing from his eyes, but he couldn't say the second half of the sentence. After losing his brother and mother one after another, Thor finally began to understand why his father Odin had always taught him to let go of hatred and embrace peace. Why did Odin keep emphasizing to him that the power in him should not be used to be competitive, but should be used to protect those who need protection? Because the momentary pleasure of revenge will only bring endless pain in the future. And the power that cannot protect important people, no matter how powerful it is just a castle in the air. Thinking of this, Thor slowly recalled every detail of his missions around the world as a SHIELD agent over the years. In his memories, there are the smiling faces of the people he saved who survived the disaster. There are the sincere gratitude of others to him after punishing the rapists and eradicating the evil. There is also the justice in the hearts of the companions around him in the future, and the strength to not hesitate even if they die. At this moment, Thor, who has lived on Earth for more than 10 years, finally ushered in his metamorphosis and began to understand the meaning of Odin's exile to Midgard. While Thor continued to think and his thoughts matured, people around him thought he was sluggish due to excessive grief. Seeing his appearance, Jane felt very distressed. She couldn't help but walk to Thor's side and gently patted his back to comfort him. Feeling Jane's concern for him warmed Thor's heart when he was at a low point, and his expression gradually became resolute. How is the situation in Asgard now? Thor asked Fandral. His Majesty Odin forcibly ended Odin's sleep at the critical moment, regained consciousness, and stabilized the situation. But this also caused serious damage to His Majesty's body. Now His Majesty has been holding on to his severely injured body to preside over the overall situation in the palace. If Asgard encounters another crisis, given His Majesty Odin's current state, it is very likely. Fandral didn't finish his sentence, but Thor already understood what he wanted to say. So what is the purpose of your coming to Earth today? Do you want to take me back to help my father manage Asgard? Thor asked. What surprised Thor was that his guess was not confirmed by the three warriors. According to the statement given by Loki in advance, Fandral said it to Thor without changing a word. Thor, you do have a chance to return to Asgard now, and this is what we came down to inform you about. Not long ago, His Majesty Odin set a spell on your Mjolnir and sent it to Midgard. Thor, as long as you can get Mjolnir's recognition and successfully lift it, the divine power in your body will be restored, and you can also return to Asgard with us and inherit the throne of Asgard. 82. If you fail, Mjolnir will remain here until you can lift it successfully and return to Asgard. It's just that Asgard at that time will be merged under the rule of Her Royal Highness Elsa, the Snow Queen of Jotunheim. In other words, you will lose your right to inherit the throne. When he heard that he might lose the throne that he had always longed for some reason, Thor didn't feel any nervousness or panic. Had his years on Earth smoothed his edges? No. At least Thor himself doesn't think so. For Thor, who has become more mature now, whether he can inherit the throne is actually not important anymore. What is more important in his mind is whether he can regain his strength and return to Asgard to help his father and protect his compatriots. Being able to realize this also proves that Thor has indeed grown up after these years of hard work. Nothing matters about the succession to the throne. Fandral, tell me now where Mjolnir is. I want to go back as soon as possible to contribute to Asgard. Fandral was stunned for a moment after hearing this, and looked at Thor with a strange expression on his face and asked, Aren't you just coming from where Mjolnir fell? How come you didn't see Mjolnir? Could it be that the reason we were sent here to perform this mission is because my father used Bifrost to send Mjolnir to Earth? Thinking of this, Thor couldn't help but feel embarrassed. It seems that he really has all the blame for not discovering this matter at the first time. Well, as you know, the agent department has strict confidentiality measures. Just when Thor was still trying to make a quibble to save face, Jane on the side suddenly blurted out, "Is the hammer in the pit where Wang Zhao came from called Mjolnir? Listening to what you just said, do the gods in Norse mythology really exist? Thor, are you the legendary Thor? This is really hot. Can you tell me how you came to the Earth from Asgard just mentioned? Is the principle of Bifrost based on space teleportation? Or does it use the principle of quantum entanglement?" Seeing that Jane, an astrophysicist, was about to break the pot and ask the truth, Thor, who knew very little about these theoretical knowledge, quickly changed the subject. "Well, Jane, let's go back to the base now. What you want to know, I'll let Fandral and the others explain to you on the way back." Fandral. Volstagg. Asking for flowers, asking for favorites, asking for monthly votes. If you like it, please comment, share, and say no. Chapter 107, Part 1. So, Thor, are you telling me that you are actually an alien? Is today some kind of April Fool's Day? Phil Coulson looked at Thor, who pulled the 3 Asgard warriors in front of him to explain. "Well, actually I am a god. Well, according to the definition of alien, you are not wrong to say that, I am an alien. But it is different from the ugly guy in your movie. I am a good-looking and powerful alien." Thor finally gave up on explaining to Phil Coulson the concept of the world tree and the relationship between the 9 realms. Anyway, he could understand the general meaning and that was it. Phil Coulson also felt very helpless. After all, anyone who encounters this kind of thing would find it ridiculous. Even if I want to believe that what you say is true, that hammer, the Mjolnir you call, is after all the target of our mission this time. I can't make the decision and let you use it directly. As soon as Phil Coulson finished speaking, Volstagg beside Thor couldn't help it anymore and rushed directly to Phil Coulson and shouted loudly, "What are you talking about, immortal? Mjolnir was originally Thor's weapon. Does he still need your approval to take away his own things?" 177-inch Volstagg's actions instantly intensified the situation at the scene. Upon seeing this, the surrounding SHIELD agents raised their guns and pointed their guns at Volstagg. "Hey, calm down, guys. And you, Volstagg, come back. This is Midgard, and we have to act according to Midgard's rules." Seeing this situation, the two sides did not want to conflict. Thor quickly stopped Volstagg's behavior. Phil Coulson also changed his usual gentle image and said forcefully at this time, "Thor is right. Since you have come to the Earth, you must act according to the rules of the Earth. And if what you say is true, then you should remember it and don't throw things into other people's homes casually. This is not a good habit." Phil Coulson's strange sarcasm made Thor and the Asgard trio feel their cheeks heat up. After all, Phil Coulson was right, and they couldn't think of any excuse to refute it. "Okay, Phil Coulson, I understand all the rules. He also knows my true identity is Fury. I will contact him directly to explain the situation. I won't make it difficult for you." As Thor said, he took out the phone in his pocket. Communicator. Thor really didn't expect that the reunion between himself and Mjolnir would be so difficult. If he had known this, he should have been more focused on his mission goal when he arrived at the mission site. But if you think about it carefully, that cold big hammer is not as good-looking as Jin, a beautiful woman with curves and shapes, smart and lively. Thor felt that even if he were asked to choose again, between Jane and Mjolnir, he would still choose Jane without hesitation. This is definitely not dog-licking. To use a nicer word, it should be called preference. Yes, it is preference. Because Fury had received Howard's instructions from the beginning and knew that all this was just a show performed by the Asgard royal family to cultivate an heir, they naturally would not stop Thor from taking back Mjolnir. With the current strength of the Earth, until the Pegasus Project finds a way to use the Tesseract, Fury knows very well that they have no strength to challenge Asgard. At this time, we should stay tight and develop in a low-key manner. With S.H.I.E.L.D. Director's permission, Phil Coulson, the on-site commander, naturally no longer blocked Thor and took him directly to Mjolnir, where layers of protective measures had been built around him. Thor, who had seen the hammer of his dream for the first time in a long time, was filled with excitement. His eyes were fixed on every detail of Mjolnir in the pit in front of him. From the lanyard at the end of the handle to the decorative pattern on the hammerhead, he, is not willing to miss any detail. Immediately afterwards, Thor was seen carrying himself behind his back, and the war hammer that was Mjolnir's replacement was taken off and handed into the hands of Phil Coulson. "Phil Coulson, this hammer was lent to me by Howard before. I am worried that Mjolnir will misunderstand me if I carry it again. I heard that you and his son Tony Stark know each other, so I would like you to help me return it to him." After saying that, Thor walked towards Mjolnir in the pit. Arriving in front of Mjolnir, Thor stood there steadily. When he was about to touch the artifact that he once used as a symbol of Thor's identity, Thor was unable to bend down and grasp its handle. At this moment, Thor was nervous, but he was not worried that if he failed to succeed once, he would lose the right to inherit the throne of Asgard. What Thor is worried about is that if he fails to gain Mjolnir's approval, does that mean that all the more than 10 years he has been on Earth have been wasted by him? Compared with his past self, is he simply not the same person? Not achieving any growth or progress? At this juncture, it can be said that it is the time when Asgard needs him most. If he fails, when this news is brought back to Asgard by Fandral and the others, will it affect the morale of the army and the confidence of the people? All kinds of worries were like mountains, weighing on Thor's heart, making him face Mjolnir so close, but he didn't dare to reach out and hold it. However, just as Thor was hesitating, a soft and warm hand held his hand. He turned his head and saw Jane standing beside him at some point, holding his left hand that was so stiff that it even started to tremble slightly. Believe in yourself, Thor. You can do it. Jane encouraged Thor while holding his hand and approaching Mjolnir. Finally, Thor's hand was about to grasp the handle of Mjolnir's hammer. But at this moment, a very dazzling light suddenly lit up outside the temporary base. Even after passing through layers of barriers, when it reached Thor and the others, it still looked very dazzling. At this moment, a strong sense of crisis emerged from Thor's heart. He didn't have time to pick up Mjolnir, who was about to get it, and immediately turned around and held Jane in his arms. At this time, he loudly warned his companions around him, "Get down!" The next second, boom! A scorching light penetrated the entire temporary base, triggering huge amounts of explosions. Asking for flowers, asking for collection, asking for monthly tickets. If you like it, please leave a comment and share it. Chapter 108, Part 1. Chapter 108, Thor returns to his position and rewards are distributed. Holy shit! What the hell is this? Barton, who was at the commanding heights and witnessed the whole thing, couldn't hide his shock and breathed out fragrance. In his field of vision, it was as if a small sun appeared out of thin air just now, and then he saw a ray of light emitting from it, directly hitting the temporary base below. However, Barton was not intimidated by the terrifying sight in front of him. He kept calling Phil Coulson's name on the communicator, and at the same time, he drew 3 black technology arrows from the quiver behind his back, bent his bow and knocked the arrows, and aimed it. He shot out at the location where the vision just appeared. Barton fired 3 arrows in unison, and the arrows arrived in an instant. The strange thing is that in a place that originally seemed empty, the 3 arrows stopped moving forward in unison. Immediately followed, boom! The gunpowder on the arrowheads of the 3 arrows detonated at the same time, and the huge fireball produced by the explosion made Barton, who had sharp eyes, seem to catch some unusual traces. And in the next second, at the location hit by Barton's arrow, a huge amount of spaceship released its concealment state and slowly revealed its hull. It was a T-shaped spaceship. The entire hull was black and gray. At the front of the hull was a huge amount of gun port. It seems that the light that hit the ground just now came from there. But all this is just what Hawkeye sees. But in fact, there is nothing at that location. The reason why this phenomenon occurs is definitely because Loki is causing trouble. This so-called spaceship is just an illusion created by Loki using magic, and the laser just now was actually an attack launched by Loki using magic. After Loki's precise calculation, it can be guaranteed that the blow just now has a shocking effect without causing actual harm to the people around him. Just as Loki expected, Thor and others were knocked down by the wave of explosions. They quickly returned to normal in the dizzy state, and then climbed up from the mud covering their bodies. Thor and the 3 Asgard warriors immediately recognized the strange-looking spaceship and said in unison, "Dark Elf?" At the moment, from Thor's perspective, not only his own life, but also the lives of many companions around him are being threatened by the Dark Elves. Thor, who doesn't want to lose the important person in his heart, must step forward at this moment and protect his companions from the weapons of the Dark Elves. Mjolnir seemed to sense Thor's firm determination and actually flew into Thor's hands. The moment Mjolnir fell into Thor's hands, the situation between heaven and earth suddenly changed, and a dazzling thunder fell from the sky and fell directly on Thor's body. But instead of causing any harm to Thor, this thunder broke all the shackles Odin left on Thor. As the seal on Thor's body was removed and the magic power was restored, the original divine costume was also draped on Thor's body under the activation of magic power. At this moment, Thor finally returns. And with the return of Thor, the long-lost system prompt finally sounded in Loki's mind. Ding! It is detected that the host has completed the task in accordance with the system requirements and starts issuing task rewards. Congratulations to the host. You have obtained the skill. Loki turned off the system's beep. Now is not the time to be distracted. Although the system task has been completed, Loki does not intend to let Thor pass easily in the next battle. After all, Thor's magic power has been sealed for more than 10 years. Even if it is restored to its original state at once, it will definitely not be as flexible as before. Loki planned to use this battle to help his troublesome brother get back into fighting shape. Under Loki's control, the Dark Elves in the illusion are more powerful than in reality. And during the battle, Loki would never give Thor a one-on-one chance. always ensuring that there were at least 3 to 5 dark elves surrounding him. This caused Thor to be very passive in the early stages of the war. Not only did his attacks rarely hit the enemy, but he was also often caught by the opponent and received a lot of attacks. But as the battle progressed, Thor's condition gradually recovered, and the situation gradually began to develop towards an even match. Even when faced with attacks from multiple enemies at the same time, Thor was able to defend perfectly. 012001300140723206080. When the battle came to an end, the enemies Loki designed for Thor were no longer his opponents. Every hammer that Thor swings during the attack not only has powerful physical damage, but also carries terrifying lightning magic damage. While thunder and lightning injure the enemy, it also paralyzes the enemy's body, making his movements become stiffer and slower. In this way, Thor's advantage naturally grew larger and larger, until finally a completely overwhelming situation was formed. Seeing that Thor's condition had completely recovered, and his mind had become more mature and his strength had been greatly improved, Loki retired with no intention of showing up. After all, Loki had already died once in front of Thor in order to arrange all this. If Thor knew in person that all of this was a lie spun by Loki, Thor would definitely haunt him for it. So Loki simply left all the rest to Odin. And Loki can finally take a good look at what skills the system rewards that he has waited for so many years will be. It can be worthy of the word heavyweight used by the system to describe it. Loki used Flying Thor to return to Kamartaj, then found a quiet room, closed the door and took a few deep breaths before opening the system panel and starting to see what the mission rewards were. However, even though Loki was mentally prepared, when he saw the introduction of system rewards, he still couldn't control himself and made a contribution to delaying global warming. Loki took a breath and asked the system in disbelief, "System, are you sure you are not mistaken? This is a reward for me? You are so stingy. When did you change your gender and become so generous?" It's not that Loki wants to be so exaggerated, but based on the skill introduction of this mission reward, the system is indeed bleeding a lot. Because this time the skill the mission system rewards Loki turns out to be a law of cause and effect skill. Asking for flowers, asking for favorites, asking for monthly votes. If you like it, please leave a comment and share it. Chapter 109, Part 1. Skill, Demonic Eye of Direct Death. Proficiency, 0%. Skill Introduction. A special ability from the 2 rituals in the world of Xingyue. It is one of the forms of the law of cause and effect weapon on the human body. Direct death, that is, the ability to look directly at death. The demonic eye of direct death is the ultimate future vision that sees the end and brings it to the present, and it is also the ultimate past vision that sees the beginning and brings it to the present. When activating the skill, the user can visually see dark lines like cracks on the surface of most objects, known as death lines. Cutting along the lines can cause undefendable and incurable damage to the object. 2 rituals. As long as it is alive, even gods will kill it for you. Eye of Direct Death. This is the heavy reward issued by the 250 system after Loki completed the main mission. To be fair, the system only uses words like heavyweight to describe the skill Death Eye, which is simply an insult to it. This is the law of cause and effect skill that can take effect on concepts. In other words, as long as Loki considers an existence to be alive in his understanding, he can use the skill Eye of Death to see its death line and kill it. For example, if Mjolnir in Thor's hand can be used normally, it means that it is alive, and Loki can use the Eye of Death to attack its deathline to kill it. It is irreversible damage. Definitely, there is no perfect thing in this world, and the skill, Death Eye, originally has its shortcomings. First of all, as a pupil skill, the prerequisite for it to be effective is that you can capture the target that needs to be attacked. Secondly, for ability to be effective, you need to be agile enough to ensure accurate attack on the target's deadline. But these should not be counted as shortcomings of skills to be precise. They should be shortcomings of the user. After all, no matter how powerful an ability is, if it falls into the hands of a waste, it will not be able to reflect its value. The only thing that can really be called a shortcoming is that this ability cannot take effect on things that are beyond the scope of understanding and cannot recognize its life or death. Even if the skill is turned on, the target's death line cannot be seen. For example, the concept of time cannot originally be defined by the 2 states of alive and dead like a real object. Therefore, even if Loki develops the proficiency of the Death Eye ability to 100%, it is impossible to activate the ability to directly erase a certain period of time in the past or future. I just don't know if the ability of Death Eye can also be effective on infinite gems. If it is possible, then I think this matter is hot. Just do whatever comes to mind. Millennium building blocks and TIE particles just happen to be in King's treasure. Although Loki gave away the skill, he can still summon the items in it through the magic of dressing up like Anna did before. The test object Loki chose was TIE particles, Because the reality gem in TIE particles is the only infinite gems among the 6 infinite gems that can exist in a non-solid form and change its own state at all times. And as a universal wishing machine-like existence, reality gem's ability is originally a causal weapon. So Loki really wants to know, when the ability of Eye of Direct Death meets infinite gems, and infinite gems also have the effect of a law of cause and effect, what kind of result will the collision produce? Loki pulled out the dagger hidden in his waist and activated the skill Eye of Direct Death. His pupils changed from the original light green to a state of blue light, and at the same time, 00 was in Loki's field of vision. Dark lines like cracks appeared on the stars. These dark lines are the line of death at the end of all things that can only be seen after turning on the Devil Eye of Direct Death. However, it may be because Loki's Death Eye skill proficiency is still too low, so there are not many deadlines in Loki's field of vision. Some objects even require a high degree of concentration to observe in order to see a dead line on the tattoo. Fortunately, if you want to improve your skill proficiency, you still have time after Loki. What he wants to do now is to test where the limit of the Eye of Direct Death is in the Marvel Universe. So Loki began to move his eyes towards the TIE particles in his hand, and at the same time devoted all his attention to the TIE particles. A few hours passed, and just when Loki thought that the ability of Death Eye would not work on infinite gems and was about to give up, a surprising dead line finally appeared in front of Loki's eyes. But this dead thread just appeared, and then disappeared without a trace in the blink of an eye. At first, Loki thought it was because he was too excited and distracted. But when he tested it several times in a row, and all the dead lines that appeared on TIE particles flashed away in the same way, Loki gradually began to wonder whether this was because the original causal ability of TIE particles had been modified. Demon Eye of Direct Death, a death declaration was issued to him. In order to confirm his guess, Loki summoned the Millennium Block again, and then used the ability of Death Eye on it. After getting familiar with the skills in previous rounds of trials, it didn't take too long this time for Loki to see the deadline on the Millennium Brick. More importantly, the deadline that appeared on the Millennium Bricks this time did not disappear immediately after appearing like it did on TIE particles. This proves that Loki's guess is correct, thinking that the particle's original causal ability does affect the effect of Direct Death. 2.2 Eyes. Looking at the deadline floating on the Millennium Block, Loki really had the urge to try cutting along it with the dagger in his hand. But in the end, Loki resisted and did not take action. After all, using infinite gems as a test subject for skill training was too extravagant. I just don't know what kind of effect the Death Eye can have on other infinite gems. The death line on TIE particles will disappear after appearing. Although the deadline on the power gem has not disappeared, it is obviously thinner than the deadlines on TIE particles and other items I have seen. Does this mean the Power Stone was originally more powerful? Asking for flowers, asking for collection, asking for monthly tickets. If you like it, please leave a comment and share it. Chapter 110, Part 1. In this case, will the effect of Death Eye be different on them because of the different original abilities of each infinite gems? Such a question came to mind, and Loki couldn't wait to verify it. There happens to be one infinite gems that Loki can test right now, and that is Kamarta's ancestral treasure, Eye of Agamotto, which is one of the infinite gems. Loki came out of the quiet room and came to the Sorcerer's supreme holy place. Seeing that the Ancient One happened to be here, he said shamelessly, Ancient One, the Eye of Agamotto, can you lend it to me? The Ancient One didn't know what kind of medicine Loki was selling in the gourd, but based on her understanding of Loki, he seemed to be full of bad intentions, and she probably didn't have any good intentions this time. So the response Loki received was an eye roll from the Ancient One and the words, "You want to eat?" Oh, anyway, the Eye of Agamotto usually sits there gathering dust, so you can lend it to me. After all, I can be considered half of your teacher. We don't even have this bit of credit between us, right? Facing Loki's emotional card, the Ancient One's answer was even more straightforward. 07, no. Loki looked embarrassed. No face at all? Just let me take a look. I guarantee that I won't touch the Eye of Agamotto with a finger. Hearing this, the Ancient One's eyes rolled around, and then he seemed to have thought of something and said to Loki, I can agree to your request, but you also have to agree to a condition in exchange. That's all. Ancient One's counter-general force actually caused Loki to start hesitation. After all, he just wanted to try new skills on different infinite gems. What is the difference in ability effects? If the price to pay for this was too high, then Loki might as well give up on the idea for now. Then forget it. I won't read it, okay? What a stingy guy. After Loki thought about it carefully, he refused directly regardless of the conditions put forward by the Ancient One. Ancient One doesn't feel it's a pity either. Originally, she just wanted to be a white wolf with nothing. If Loki agreed, it would definitely be a good thing for her. But now that Loki rejected the exchange, she had nothing to lose. Loki was a little regretful that he could not get the Ancient One's wool. The Ancient One is really becoming more cunning as he gets older. I remember when I was a little girl, he called me teacher after teacher. Now he even asks me, even if you look at Eye of Agamotto, there are conditions. Forget it. Kamartaj's time gem can't be seen. Then I'll get SHIELD's space gem for testing. Now I don't even have to ask. Anyway, the SHIELD people can't find me. 11. Compared to the Eye of Agamotto, which is guarded by the Ancient One, the Tesseract placed in SHIELD is no different to Loki than being placed on the street. After all, what kind of person is Loki? At the age of 7, he was able to enter and exit Odin's treasure house as if he were in no one's land. The security measures that Nick Fury thought were foolproof were like window paper that could be broken with just a poke in Loki's eyes. Thinking of this, Loki opened the portal and left Kamarj. The Ancient One, who watched Loki leave, got up and went to the room where the Eye of Agamotto was stored and wore it around his neck. I saw the Ancient One mobilized his magic power and opened the Eye of Agamotto. Then his whole body seemed to be having an epileptic seizure, and his head began to twitch at a high frequency, which looked very strange. But if there is a magician who is familiar with the secret art of time magic here, he can see at a glance that the Ancient One is not suffering from a disease, but is exerting power. She is using the Eye of Agamotto's ability to predict the future to explore what will happen if she agrees to Loki's request just now. Because the Ancient One noticed it, whether Loki suddenly came to Kamartaj and stayed in seclusion in a quiet room for a few days and nights, or after coming out of seclusion, he came to her and asked to see the Eye of Agamotto, it all seemed very weird. According to Ancient One's intuition, there must be something fishy in this. So in order to know the truth, Ancient One chose to use time magic to see what happened in the future on various time tributaries with the just time as the origin. But what the Ancient One is exploring is not Loki's future, but her own future. Because Ancient One's teacher Daisy once told her that Loki's future is undetectable because Loki originally had infinite possibilities. Ancient One has also personally tested this, and it is exactly what Daisy said. But if the object of investigation is changed to someone related to Loki, then we can still see some fragments about Loki's future. After checking the future on more than 4 million different time tributaries in total, Gusher finally found what she wanted to see. In that future clip, the Ancient One saw a scene that made her hair stand on end. Loki, after watching the Eye of Agamotto, personally showed her how to kill Ichiyu. And in that time and space, the Ancient One, after seeing the ability shown by Loki, had the same expression on her face as she did at that moment. What is contained in this expression is unparalleled shock. In the S.H.I.E.L.D. director's office, Nick Fury is worrying about the incident in New Mexico and the trouble caused by Hammer Industries at the Stark Expo. Looking at the information about Dr. Eric Selvig displayed on the computer screen, Fury has decided to recruit him into the reactivated Pegasus project to conduct research on the Tesseract. Little did he know that he was thinking about the Tesseract, which he wanted to use to develop super weapons. At the moment, Loki was holding it in his hand openly and playing with it. Skill, Demonic Eye of Direct Death, Proficiency, 5.8%. After previous rounds of trial use, the skill proficiency of Death Eye has been increased to 5.8%. After activating the skill, Loki no longer needs to focus all his attention on the infinite gems as he did at the beginning, and can quickly see the deadline on the infinite gems. On ordinary items, the number of deadlines that can be seen has also increased, and it is no longer the sporadic state at the beginning. Loki turned on the Death Eye and looked at the Tesseract. After a while, he saw the Tesseract's death line emerging from his field of vision. But unlike TIE particles and Millennium bricks, although the deadline on the Tesseract did not disappear immediately, and the thickness was within the normal range, the position of the deadline was constantly changing. And this kind of transformation and transfer looks to Loki like a deadline jumping in space on the Tesseract. It seems that my guess is most likely correct. As infinite gems are the incarnations of rules in the Marvel Universe, the effect of Eye of Death on them will be affected by their original ability. The Devil Eye of Direct Death is strong if it is strong, but it is not impossible to limit it. But luckily I'm a loser. Death Eye's ability to look directly at death and Mokobatimo's ability to freeze time. If they work well together, then I can't say that I'm invincible, right? Ha 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 ha. But to be more careful, time is the carrier of cause and effect. If the target has the ability to reverse time like the time gem, then even if the Demon Eye of Direct Death has the ability of the law of cause and effect, it may be difficult to kill the opponent. Thinking about it this way, this skill seems to have one more weakness. Forget it, don't think about it so much. There is no perfect ability in this world. I'd better brush up the proficiency of the skill to 100% first, and then consider the problem that the skill may be targeted. Asking for flowers, asking for collection, asking for monthly tickets. If you like it, please leave a comment and share it.
Enjoying the audiobooks? Support me on Patreon so I can keep doing this. Link in the description. Now, let's move on to the next chapter.
Chapter 111, Part 1. Texas, in an open-air stunt motorcycle show. A big event will happen today. The famous motorcycle stunt master Johnny Blazer will perform motorcycle stunts flying over 24 semi-trucks for the audience in this show. Johnny, **, and Burning Johnny. In the auditorium, the audience waiting for the performance to start cheered Johnny's name enthusiastically. With the roar of the motorcycle engine and the appearance of Johnny Blazer himself, the atmosphere of the entire show finally reached its peak. At the moment when the whole audience was about to burst into excitement, Johnny filled up the accelerator and drove his motorcycle to the starting platform as fast as possible. Then, under the witness of the live audience, he actually drove a motorcycle and completed a performance that seemed impossible to complete by flying over 24 semi-trucks. The audience who saw this scene with their own eyes all stood up and applauded excitedly, cheering and shouting for their beloved, Hot Johnny. But the next moment, the scene that was supposed to be bustling with people suddenly fell into an eerie silence. Because just when Explosive Johnny was about to complete his flying stunt, he actually made a mistake in landing his motorcycle. Johnny lost his balance and immediately flew off the motorcycle, falling heavily to the ground. And under the influence of strong inertia, Johnny was unable to stop the forward trend, causing his back and head to hit the sidewall together. Following Johnny's crash, after a brief silence, the audience immediately returned to its previous noisy state. It's just that the audience was cheering for Johnny before, but now they are worried about Johnny. Seeing Johnny lying motionless by the wall, members of the stunt team who were preparing for the performance with him gathered around him, wanting to confirm Johnny's physical condition. However, when they took off Johnny's helmet, they neither saw the horrific scene of bleeding from all the orifices nor heard the excruciating screams and moans. Johnny just shook his dizzy head and asked flatly, "Hell, my car didn't crash, did it?" Seeing Johnny stand up unscathed after experiencing such a terrible crash, both his teammates on the team and the audience at the scene all cheered for his safety at this moment. However, there is an exception in the last row of the auditorium. He kept calmly watching everything that just happened until Johnny returned to the backstage with the support of his teammates. A smile appeared on his face, but that smile didn't seem to be happy that Johnny had saved the day. Instead, it contained a kind of excitement like a hunter seeing his prey. Haha, Johnny Blaze. He is indeed the guy chosen by Mephisto. If you were to die so easily, then the contract Mephisto signed with you would be terrible. After all, this guy likes nothing more than watching his investment continue to grow in value until one day he can cash it out. And the day he was looking forward to is not far away. This unique guy in the audience is none other than Loki, who just got the Death Eye not long ago. The test on 3 infinite gems was just a challenge to the limit of his Death Eye ability. After thoroughly understanding the advantages and limitations of this ability, Luigi couldn't wait to find something too strange. Just at this moment, Loki saw from the window of a fried chicken shop that Johnny Blaze was about to challenge the stunt of flying over 24 semi-trailer trucks. This immediately reminded Loki of a bad superhero movie starring Uncle Cage in his previous life, and he also found the most suitable killing target for him. So Loki came to Texas today and showed up at Explosive Johnny's show. That disgusting smell of sulfur, Mephisto, you have indeed been protecting his safety, but I wonder who can protect you when you are in danger. As he said that, Loki's eyes had already locked onto an old man holding a skull cane among the vast crowd of people in the audience. Angel Bar, a place whose name sounds completely inconsistent with the business it originally operates. And the guys who frequent this place are all Texas riders who drive heavy motorcycles, and they have nothing to do with the name Angel. But although Angel is not at home, this bar really encountered a ghost today. Wu Xinmo, a real devil and Mephisto's filial son, thinks about how to replace his father all day long and become the strongest demon and the lord of the Hell Dimension. The reason why Wu Xinmo appeared outside Angel Bar today was not because he had any interest in this place. It was simply because he had just escaped from the Hell Dimension today and happened to pass by this bar. As a result, all the bartenders in the bar, including the customers, became sacrifices for him to summon his 3 subordinates, Earth Demon, Water Demon, and Wind Demon. This time the Witch Heart Demon came to the human world. His goal has not changed. He is still to replace Mephisto and become the new generation of King of Hell. The reason why the Witch Heart Demon is so confident is because he discovered a secret about his father Mephisto. Santa Fanganza, this was originally an ordinary town. But under the influence of Mephisto, this town turned into a real hell on earth. The souls of the residents who originally lived in the small town are all trapped here and will never be reincarnated. Mephisto, who was behind all this, sent the Ghost Rider who was under him at the time after everything settled, to Santa Fanganza to recover the contract he signed with the villagers. But Mephisto miscalculated. The Ghost Rider betrayed him after seeing the tragedy of the town and stole the Santa Fanganza contract. According to legend, this contract was brought into his coffin by the Ghost Rider. When the Witch Heart Demon learned about this, he was immediately ecstatic, because if he could get this Saint Fanganza contract and use it to devour all the souls, he would be able to gain unparalleled power and become more powerful than him. Mephisto's father is a more powerful demon king. As a dimension lord, Mephisto is restricted by the barrier left by Agamotto and can only exist in the world as a duplication made from soul fragments. His power is far inferior to that of the inner demon who can enter the world as a demon. So if you want to achieve your goal, the only person the witch heart demon needs to worry about is the bounty hunter Mephisto has contracted with in the human world, Ghost Rider. However, with the help of his 3 subordinates, Earth Demon, Water Demon, and Wind Demon, Wu Xinma is very confident. This time he will definitely be able to get the Saint Fang'ansa contract and surpass his father Mephisto in one fell swoop. However, just as Wu Xinma was happily thinking about his future, a very familiar voice came from outside the door of Angel Bar. Wu Xinma. Asking for flowers, asking for collection, asking for monthly tickets. If you like it, please leave a comment and share it. Chapter 112, Part 1. Witch Heart Demon. Outside the Angel Bar, with Mephisto's shout, Wu Xinma and his 3 men, Earth Demon, Water Demon, and Wind Demon, walked out of the bar one after another and came to bay. The moment Mephisto and Wu Xinma and his son met, the air in the surrounding environment seemed to be stagnant. Witch, what are you doing out of hell? Mephisto asked. In response to Mephisto's question, the witch heart demon showed great disdain. The next time will be my era. Don't even think about ordering me again, old man. Your time? Your time will come, as long as you wait patiently, but it is definitely not now, Mephisto said calmly, but the uncontrollable anger in his heart could already be heard in his tone. You can't stop me, father. Do you think I will fail like you? No, I won't. I will never fail. Finally, Mephisto's tone completely cooled down. Really? Boy, let's give it a try. In the human world, my power may not be able to hurt you, but my Ghost Rider will help me send you back to hell. And when that time comes, what you will face is the wrath of Mephisto, my Lord of Hell. Ghost Rider? Ha 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 ha. The witch heart demon laughed after saying this. His laughter was almost crazy and made people shudder, wasting such precious power of hellfire on a miserable human being. Father 500, you are really partial. If you trusted me and gave me what originally belonged to me, then this world would be a long time ago, that is. Before Wu Xinma finished speaking, he was interrupted by Mephisto. Everything, including yourself, belongs to me until the day my life ends. Hearing this, Wu Xinma was also determined to completely break up with his father. Wait until the day when his life ends? Who doesn't know that Fisto's life has already been placed in the Hell Dimension? As long as the Hell Dimension still exists, as long as he is still the Lord of the Hell Dimension, it is impossible for him to die. This means that even if the Witch Heart Demon dies, the old guy Mephisto is still alive and well. There will be no day when it will be the Witch Heart Demon's turn to inherit the Hell Dimension. Okay then, let your Ghost Rider come to me. I will remove his bones one by one, and then crush him to ashes. And after him, the next one I want to kill is you, my father. Just when the tension between Mephisto and the Witch Heart Demon reached its peak, a voice suddenly came from the Angel Bar, where there should have been no living beings. Oops, I wanted to have a drink, but which bastard killed the bartender in the bar? If there is no bartender in the bar, can it still be considered a bar? That's too much. Asterisk, Ahab, do you think so? Mr. Mephisto, and the little witch-hearted devil. Hearing their names called out by the mysterious figure who appeared inexplicably in the bar, Mephisto, Wu Xinma and others became nervous and watched the door of the bar warily. Then, they saw a man wearing a dark green cashmere suit, holding a bottle of vodka in his left hand and a bottle of whiskey in his right hand, walking out of the bar. Fongamo, go up and kill him for me. Looking at the stranger in front of him, Wu Xinma directly ordered Fongamo to attack him. After all, Wu Xinma already believes that he will become the next Lord of Hell at the moment. As the ruler of the Hell Dimension, how can he endure being interrupted by others when he is speaking? Not to mention that the people in the bar were all killed by his evil spirit, and this guy who came out of nowhere dared to blame him. However, although Wu Xinma was angry in his heart, he still left himself a backup plan. Regarding the mysterious person in front of him who had an unknown origin and could appear here quietly, Wu Xinma chose to let his subordinate Fongamo test him. It would definitely be best if Fongamo could follow his orders and kill the opponent directly. But if Fongamo is not the opponent's opponent, then he can at least test out the opponent's strength, and then decide whether to fight shoulder to shoulder or to fight against each other. Really? Why do you have to fight even if you don't agree with me? But it suits me exactly. As he spoke, the man in the dark green suit took a sidestep and dodged Fongmo's attack. Then he would throw up the vodka he was holding in his left hand, and when the bottle was rotated until the mouth of the bottle was facing downwards, he would reach out and grab the neck of the bottle, then aim the bottom of the bottle at Fongmo's head and hit it. But the next result was not the expected scene of wine bottles exploding and heads bleeding. Just as the wine bottle was about to hit Fongmo's head, his entire demon elementalized directly into a wisp of breeze. The wine bottle in the man's hand also seemed to hit the air, directly penetrating the wind demon's elemental body. Hie Hie, stop struggling. The cloud is invisible and the wind is invisible. Your attacks can't hit me. Fongimo said with a proud smile as he watched the man in the dark green suit's attack fail. Oh, really? Then try my trick again. Seeing this, the man didn't panic at all. Just as he finished speaking, the dark green pupils in his eyes suddenly released a faint blue light. The next second, I saw him let go of the wine bottle in his hand, stretched out a finger towards Fongimo, made a slight gesture, and then made a light stroke. Call out. The wind suddenly stopped, and it was so quiet outside the bar that you could hear a pin drop. And Fongimo, who was still uttering wild words just now, has been split into two and is lying on the ground very peacefully. So this is the feeling of crossing the deadline after turning on the devil eye of direct death? This feeling is quite refreshing. I really want to try dodging and slashing a few. Needless to say, the man in a dark green suit who appeared here quietly is Loki, who followed Mephisto all the way from the show. After he finished what he just said, he turned his attention to the other four demons remaining on the scene. The absolute first choice target is Mephisto. Although his duplication in the human world is only a small fragment of his soul, he is also a Mephisto in another dimension. This is the second Mephisto Loki has encountered besides Dormammu from the dark dimension. If you don't cut it now to try it out, you don't know when you will have to wait until next time. Thinking of this, Loki attacked Mephisto without saying a word. Although Mephisto's power has been suppressed, he is still a powerful boss without a father. After seeing the way Loki killed the wind demon just now, he immediately judged that Loki's strength was by no means simple. So the first time Loki struck, Mephisto immediately dodged. But just when he thought he had successfully dodged Loki's attack, he suddenly felt a wave of heat slap against his ear. At this moment, Mephisto's expression changed drastically, and then he heard Loki's voice ringing in his ears. Be sure to remember when you fight me next time. Don't believe what you see with your eyes at the moment. What the witch heart demon on the side saw in his eyes was Loki resting his chin on Mephisto's shoulder, whispering in Mephisto's ear like a friend. And then, there was no more. Loki didn't leave Mephisto any chance to speak, and directly used the ability of Hie Hie of direct death to kill the soul fragments in his body. Because Loki knew that Mephisto had found a loophole in the magical barrier of Agamotto. Next time, he will definitely be able to send his soul fragments to the world again and turn them into his duplication. If Mephisto has anything he wants to say to himself, just leave it until the next time we meet. After all, Loki was eager for Mephisto to come to him. Skill, Demonic Eye of Direct Death. Proficiency, 11%. I just used Death Demonic Eye to kill a wind demon, and I gained 0.2% skill proficiency. And killing a Mephisto's duplication actually increased the proficiency by 5%. If only there were a few more duplications of Mephisto, Loki would be able to max out the skill proficiency of Hie Hie of Death in a short time. Asking for flowers, asking for collection, asking for monthly tickets. If you like it, please leave a comment and share it. Chapter 113, Part 1. You run really fast, and you are worthy of being Mephisto's filial son. When Loki solved Mephisto's duplication and turned around to look back, the witch heart demon and his two remaining men had already disappeared. However, Loki did not intend to pursue him. As long as the witch heart demon was still trying to make a contract with Saint Fonganza, he would fall into Loki's hands sooner or later. On the other side, Mephisto, who felt that the fragments of his soul in the human world had been destroyed, could only rage in the hell dimension. Because of Mephisto's wrath, at the moment in hell, everything visible to the naked eye was burning with flames called hellfire. And countless souls and demons were turned into ashes because they could not withstand this scorching environment. Damn, where did this guy come from? How could he be so powerful? As he spoke, Mephisto's palm slammed heavily on the armrest of the throne beneath him, creating a strong wave of air in the hall. However, while Mephisto was angry that his duplication in the human world was eliminated, he was even more afraid of the methods used by the mysterious man to attack him. Because Mephisto can clearly perceive the condition of his own soul, no matter how hard he cultivates from now on and uses any treasure that can repair his soul, the missing soul fragment in his soul will never be restored. This also means that if that person really has a chance to attack his body, then Mephisto may really be killed by the other party. For Mephisto, who had never worried about his life and safety after becoming a Dimension Mephisto, he felt something called a sense of crisis for the first time in a long time. The best way for Mephisto to regain a sense of security is to get rid of the mysterious man who can threaten his life. You can't live in fear. You can't live in fear. You are the best motorcycle stunt driver. You succeeded in doing something that no one else can do. You deserve a second chance, and Roxanne is the sign. In the room, Johnny Blaze, who had been carefully dressed up, was standing in front of the mirror at the moment, making final mental preparations for his long-awaited date with his ex-girlfriend Roxanne Simpson tonight. But just when Johnny had completed all the preparations and was about to set off, he found that his state at the moment became a little strange, even weird. Johnny looked at his hands, which were like red-hot irons at the moment. He didn't know what was wrong with him, so he quickly opened the faucet and rinsed them. But the rinsing with water did not alleviate the situation. His burning hands even caused the water that came into contact with his skin to evaporate directly. At the same time, a hoarse and deep voice sounded in his ears, "Xiangni." At the call of this voice, Johnny ran to the street involuntarily, and finally in a deserted alley, he saw the motorcycle that had mysteriously disappeared from his house just now, and the evil face that he could never forget. "It's you?" Johnny raised his hand and pointed at the figure that appeared in front of him. There was shock and panic in his eyes, as well as sadness and pain, but more of them were anger and hatred. Because the guy who appeared in front of him was named Mephisto. Definitely, what Johnny doesn't know is that the Mephisto he sees now is no longer the Mephisto he used to be. After all, the duplication of Mephisto in the human world that Johnny had seen was killed by Loki not long ago. The duplication that appears in front of Johnny now was created by Mephisto splitting his soul and reusing his own soul fragments. "It's me, long time no see, Johnny." Mephisto stepped forward and kept getting closer to Johnny. The false, gentle smile remained on his face as always, without the slightest hint of violence burning in hell. "Get out of here, you devil, stay away from me," Johnny shouted as he backed away. However, Mephisto remained unmoved by this and continued to close the distance between the two. "If you talk like that, it would be a bit too hurtful. What are you doing here?" Johnny continued to back away, maintaining the distance between the two of them very vigilantly. "Well, that's a good question. But Johnny, in fact, I have always been by your side, but you don't know it. I will go to watch every performance of yours in person, and I am your loyal fan." "Stop joking. Do you think I'm still the young and ignorant child I was before and will easily believe your lies? Every time I have an accident during a stunt, I'm fine. It's you who is causing trouble, right?" Hearing this, Mephisto shook his head, looked at Johnny and said, "You are wrong, Johnny. All of this was achieved by yourself." I said, "I'm a loyal fan of yours. Whenever I hear the audience shouting your name enthusiastically, I feel very proud. This feeling is like watching an investment I made, constantly soaring in value. And today, I think it's time to cash in on my investment, Johnny. Zero, please give me flowers. I need you to help me do something. Find the witch heart demon, his accomplices, and this mysterious man, and then kill them." As Mephisto finished speaking, Johnny was surprised to find that there was an extra memory in his mind. The content of this part of the memory is about the appearance of the mysterious man in Mephisto's mouth. For demons, Ghost Rider can track them by their unpleasant sulfur smell. But for that other mysterious man, if there is no clue to support him, no matter how powerful Ghost Rider is, he will not be able to complete such a task. "I refuse. I will never obey your orders." However, facing Mephisto's order, Johnny, who had been deceived by him, did not intend to carry out the task as agreed. When Johnny was still a young boy at the age of 17, his father was diagnosed with cancer by a doctor. Johnny, who accidentally learned about this incident, felt very sad. Zero. But at this moment, Mephisto appeared in front of him and took out a contract and told Johnny that as long as he was willing to sell his soul, Mephisto would heal Johnny's father in exchange. Johnny was doubtful, but for the sake of his father, he still chose to accept Mephisto's conditions and signed a contract with him. And on the second day after he signed the contract, his father miraculously recovered. Johnny was very happy to learn about this, and at the same time decided to follow the original plan and fly away with his girlfriend Roxanne Simpson to live the life he wanted. But before Johnny could be happy for a long time, he suffered a bolt from the blue. His father had an accident during a motorcycle stunt that day and passed away unexpectedly. But as a biological son, Johnny knew very well that with his father's motorcycle stunt performance level, such a low-level mistake would never happen. All of this has absolutely nothing to do with Mephisto. This is why when the two met again now, instead of showing any gratitude to Mephisto, Johnny was extremely hostile to him, even going so far as to violate the contract they signed. "It's up to you, Johnny. Don't forget, I signed the contract. You have no choice but to complete the mission that I hand you. But you can rest assured that I, Mephisto, have always followed the principle of fair trade. As long as you can successfully complete the tasks I assigned, how about I return your soul to you? Asking for flowers, asking for favorites, asking for monthly tickets. If you like it, please leave a comment, share, and leave a few." Chapter 114, Part 1. Officer Carter Shirey, do you think this new colleague of yours will come to cause trouble for me? I hate trouble the most, so I hope you can hand over what I want before trouble comes. What do you think of my proposal? Dark Night, Silent Cemetery. No matter how you think about it, this is not a good time or place for a conversation. But Loki appeared in the cemetery at exactly this time, and at the same time, there was an old man with white hair and beard sitting next to him. However, the old man next to him is not a simple person. Otherwise, he would not have the courage to sit in the cemetery with a stranger in the middle of the night. Carter Shirey was once a handsome Texas Ranger. but he was later arrested and imprisoned for greed. Under the spell of Mephisto, in order to regain his freedom, he sold his soul to the other party and became the first Ghost Rider under Mephisto. 987 was also the Ghost Rider who later discovered his conscience, betrayed Mephisto, and stole the contract of Saint Fangansa. The reason why Loki came to him was also very simple. It was for the Saint Fangansa contract in his hand. This thing is definitely of no use to Loki, but it is very tempting to the Witch Heart Demon and Mephisto. As long as they hold it in hand, sooner or later they will fall into the trap and appear in front of Loki. More importantly, this Saint Fangansa contract is a super prop that can help the Witch Heart Demon to strengthen at an epic level. You know, before Loki only used the ability of Eye of Direct Death to kill Mephisto duplication, which was the most powerful level sub-godfather, and his skill proficiency increased by 5%. If the Witch Heart Demon gets the Saint Fangansa contract, it will devour all the souls bound in the contract. No matter how poor the Witch Heart Demon's ability is, he can at least upgrade his strength to level Godfather, which is the level of the Demon King in the Hell Dimension. When the time comes, Loki takes action again, activating the skill, Eye of Direct Death, to cut the inner demon along the line of death. Shouldn't the proficiency of this skill increase slowly? But although Loki's plan was well thought out, the reality was that Carter Schrey did not cooperate with his plan. Young man, I don't know where you came from to know the existence of the Saint Fangansa contract, but I will never give it to you. Also, if you don't want to get yourself into big trouble, you'd better, so that this matter will be completely rotten in my heart. Sori's tone was very serious, and the look he looked at Loki was extremely sharp, as if he wanted to scare Loki away with his momentum. Although Sori couldn't figure out who Loki was, he didn't smell the unpleasant sulfur smell from hell, so he automatically thought of him as an enthusiast who studies mysterious events. But when Loki heard Sori calling him young man, he really couldn't help it and burst out laughing. Ha ha ha. Sorry, I'm a professional and I usually don't laugh unless I really can't help it. Ha 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 ha. I just didn't expect that I, an old man who is over 1,000 years old, would be called a young man by a little guy like you who is less than 200 years old. Listen, Sori, as a former Ghost Rider, you have done a good job, but now there is not much power of hellfire left in your body. If you want this tragedy to end, then take your hands. Give me the contract of Saint Fangansa. I guarantee that Mephisto and the Witch Heart Demon will pay a heavy price, so that they will not dare to step into the human world again from now on. Definitely, you can also choose to do something to me, but by that time, you may look more embarrassed. Carter Schrey had no way of verifying whether the man next to him, who looked to be only 30 years old at most, had actually lived for more than 1,000 years, and the truth of the matter did not matter to him. What's important is that the momentum he feels from Loki is so oppressive, so much so that he understood the strength gap between him and Loki in an instant, and as a result, he couldn't even think of resisting in his head. Alas! Carter Schrey let out a long sigh, then picked up a shovel from the tombstone not far away and came to Loki. I hope that after I hand the things over to you, you can keep your promise and end this tragedy caused by greed. Loki didn't say anything, just nodded seriously. Then he saw Shirley grabbing the wooden shovel in his hand and bending it hard on his right knee. Immediately afterwards, he took out the Saint Fangansa contract that Loki wanted from the hollow compartment of the wooden shovel handle. It's really well hidden. If it were Wuxinmo and Mephisto, unless you told them in person, I don't think they would have thought you hid something here. If I'm not wrong, the legend that the contract of Saint Fangansa has been taken into the coffin by Carter Schrey was also released by you to disturb the view, right? Loki asked after receiving the Saint Fangansa contract from Sori. Sori nodded, confirming Loki's guess. In fact, Shirley is quite proud of his operation. In the entire plan, the only loophole that could reveal the location of Saint Fangansa's contract is that the person who made the plan himself, and after having a thorough understanding of his thoughts, Shirley was confident that no matter what methods the enemy used, he would not reveal the matter. Suddenly, in the originally quiet environment, the roar of a motorcycle engine came from far and near. As the sound of the engine gradually became louder, a light spot appeared in the sights of Loki and Sori at the same time. The light spot continued to magnify in the field of vision, and finally it was clearly visible that it was a strange skeleton wearing a black leather jacket, riding a Harley motorcycle, and with a flame on his head. But neither Loki nor Sori were frightened by the sight before them, because both of them knew that what was happening in front of them was not a supernatural event, but just a ghost rider who was lost on the road of life. Mysterious man, I found you. The skeleton on the motorcycle is Johnny Blaze, who received orders from Mephisto and came to eliminate Loki. Compare this to the image of the mysterious man that Mephisto sent to his mind. Loki was recognized by him immediately. Look into my eyes. After Johnny transformed into Ghost Rider, the noise became rough and low-pitched, completely different from the voice of musician Brooke, who also turned into a skeleton. The reason why Johnny wants Loki to look into his eyes is because Ghost Rider has an ability called Eye of Judgment. Ghost Rider can see through his eyes the crimes committed by the other party in the past, and the other party will recall the past crimes, making his body, mind, and soul feel more painful, thereby achieving the effect of trial and punishment. If the person looking directly at the Eye of Judgment is guilty of serious crimes, Ghost Rider will burn the other person's soul with the fire of hell, and the evil person will be judged to death in 3.2. After Johnny found Loki, he did not directly use hellfire or other means to attack Loki, but chose to use the Eye of Judgment to judge him. It can be seen that even though he was controlled by Mephisto, he still maintained his inner conscience. If Loki is a person who does many evil things, then Loki will be burned to death by the fire of hell, and he can successfully complete the task. If Loki is not guilty of death, then in order to avoid killing innocent people indiscriminately, Johnny will give up the mission and let Loki escape from the range that he can track. But even though Johnny had thought carefully, he didn't expect that something unexpected would happen. After Loki and his eyes came into contact, Johnny's Eye of Judgment was unable to see through Loki's soul. In other words, Eye of Judgment has failed. Asking for flowers, asking for collection, asking for monthly tickets. If you like it, please leave a comment and share it. Chapter 115, Part 1. Eye of Judgment? To be honest, I really want to know if my soul will be judged. But I am naturally more afraid of heat, so you should save the fire of hell to burn other people's souls. Besides, didn't Mephisto tell you something? I told him very kindly. When you fight with me, you must remember not to believe what you see with your eyes. As soon as he finished speaking, Loki, who was sitting next to Carter Shirey, turned into nothing and disappeared. Then the next second, before Johnny and Sori could find him, he appeared behind him again. You can't catch me, Johnny. Your strength is too weak. And if you can meet the Witch Heart Demon later, help me bring a message to him and Mephisto. I have already obtained the Santa Fanganza contract. If they want it, let them come to Santa Fanganza to find me. I will wait for them there for 3 days, and I will not wait for them if they are late. By the way, there is one more thing. Let me consider it as a reward for you to help me with the message. Let me remind you that the Witch Heart Demon does not have a 07 soul, so your Eye of Judgment will not work on him. When you meet him, don't stupidly rush up and look him in the eye. Directly attacking with chains from a long distance is the most correct way to fight. But even so, you have no chance of winning. After all, the strength gap between you cannot be smoothed out by simply changing the way you fight. After saying that, Loki disappeared again, leaving only 2 generations of Ghost Riders looking at each other in the cemetery. After a while, I heard Shirley say, "Boy, maybe you need some guidance from your seniors." Johnny, what do you mean? Sori didn't say much. His body started to burst into flames, and then he also turned into a flaming skull. The way you use hellfire is too rough. Come with me, and I'll give you something good. Perhaps out of the trust between Ghost Riders, Johnny naturally followed Sori without any suspicion. The two came to a lake next to the cemetery together. Sori looked at Johnny and said, I think you should have some understanding of your own ability now. Except for the Eye of Judgment you just used, the most important power for a Ghost Rider is the fire of hell on his body. Hellfire is different from ordinary flames. It is a supernatural energy that can determine whether to cause damage to a certain thing according to Ghost Rider's will. And this kind of damage is not limited to material things. Even invisible and intangible things like souls cannot escape the power of hellfire. The other thing is, Sori said as he put his right palm with only bones left under the lake. But even in the water, Johnny saw that the hellfire in Sori's hand could still burn normally. Shirley continued to explain. As I said just now, the fire of hell is a supernatural force, so it is not bound by the laws of nature. The water and vacuum environment cannot have any impact on the fire of hell, and the fire of hell can change the shape of the object by attaching to it. Regarding this, I believe you have already experienced it on your motorcycle. Objects with hellfire attached to them will not only have improved strength and performance, but also can be repaired by hellfire after being damaged. But the wonderful uses of hellfire are not just that. After you gather the hellfire in your hand, you can also do it like this. After Shirley finished speaking, he demonstrated for Johnny again. I saw him condensing the hellfire in his hand, compressing it into a fireball, and then throwing it with his hand. The fireball was thrown directly onto the lake, and then huge amounts of energy exploded. Hellfire can also be fired as a long-range attack skill. However, I do not recommend that you fire it with bare hands like I just demonstrated. It is best to attach it to a weapon. This way the energy utilization is more efficient and the attack power is also greater. Shirley took off an old-looking flintlock pistol from his waist. The hellfire in his hand spread quickly, and the old-looking flintlock pistol turned into a cool-looking weapon. After Shirley pulled the trigger, the pistol was instantly activated, and a beam of fire was shot out from the muzzle at an extremely fast speed, falling on the lake surface and exploding a water column more than 10 meters high. You see, with the help of weapons, the concentrated attack can use less energy and obtain more powerful destructive power. After saying that, Sori, who had finished the demonstration, handed the flintlock gun in his hand to Johnny in front of him. "Give it to me?" Johnny reached out and took the gun before he could react. Shirley nodded and said, "That's right. Here it is. I can no longer use it. I have been lingering for 150 years. The energy in my body is almost exhausted. This transformation will be my last one. Transform." Now that the St. Fanganza contract has been handed over to the person just now, and everything I have mastered over the years of becoming a ghost rider has been taught to you, I have no regrets. I hope this flintlock gun, which has always been with me, can provide you with some help at critical moments. This can be regarded as the inheritance between our two generations of ghost riders. Remember, Johnny, you are different from me. I sold my soul because of my greed for freedom, but you were willing to sacrifice your soul because of your love for your family. As long as you never give up, sooner or later you will be able to change of this world. At the end of the day, Sori could no longer maintain the Ghost Rider's transformation. His figure began to fade slowly until he completely disappeared from Johnny's eyes. But Shirley did not show any panic or fear about the arrival of 327's death, because until this moment, he was finally able to surrender to Mephisto's control and gain true freedom. This place is really spooky. Santa Fanganza, now it should be more appropriately called the Town of Death. The resentment of countless wronged souls imprisoned here began to surge as Loki appeared with the St. Fanganza contract. Fortunately, because of the constraints of the contract, Luigi doesn't have to worry about these lonely ghosts coming out to disturb him. After Loki left the cemetery guarded by Sori, he came directly to this small town that had been abandoned for many years. But even after more than 100 years have passed, Loki can still smell the faint smell of corpses in the environment here. I just don't know if Mephisto and the Witch Heart Demon will come to me in the next 3 days. I hope they weren't frightened by my performance last time, otherwise I would have to go find them myself. Just when Loki was about to find a better place and sit down and wait quietly for his prey to come, a rainbow suddenly fell from the sky and landed in the center of St. Fanganza. A black figure flew out of the rainbow and was heading towards Loki's position through the wind at high speed. Asking for flowers, asking for collection, asking for monthly tickets. If you like it, please leave a comment and share it. Chapter 116, Part 1. The black shadow flying out of the rainbow was flying towards Loki at an extremely fast speed. However, Loki did not become confused because of this sudden incident. He had already recognized the rainbow as Asgard's Bifrost. The black shadow flying out of the Bifrost, even though it was in a dark night environment, Loki still recognized through its outline that it was the artifact Mjolnir that symbolized Thor's identity. In this way, the identity of the person who was transported to St. Fanganza by Bifrost is self-evident. Naturally, he is the male protagonist of Asgard Collapse Plan, Thor who was fooled by Loki's plan. Obviously, with Thor's violent temper, he has matured a lot even after his experience on Earth. But after returning to Asgard and knowing the truth of everything, it is absolutely impossible to let Loki go easily. Although the initiator of the whole plan should actually be Odin, but how could Thor have the courage to vent his anger on his father? He would definitely have to be picky and vent his anger on Loki. But maybe it was because they hadn't seen each other for so long that Thor forgot one thing. That is, since he was a child, he has never been able to get any advantage from Loki. Facing the divine hammer Mjolnir falling from the sky and about to hit him, Loki just smiled and silently activated the skill of Mirror Flower, Water Moon. Count. Boom. Mjolnir directly penetrated Loki's shadow and landed on the land of St. Fangantha. Immediately afterwards, Thor, who was teleported down by Bifrost, finally landed on the ground. As soon as he landed, Thor raised his left hand and held it in the air. The next moment, Mjolnir, who had just hit Loki, flew up from the ground at Thor's call and returned to Thor's hands. Hey bro, it's rare to meet again after a long separation. You come up and throw a hammer at me. Isn't that bad? Hearing Loki's voice from behind, Thor turned around and hit Loki's figure again without saying a word. Definitely, under Kyoka Suigetsu's ability, Thor's attack failed just like before. You have the nerve to say that? The attack failed again, but Thor had no intention of stopping. If my mother hadn't told me what you had done after I returned to Asgard, I wouldn't have known that all the painful experiences I had experienced over the years were all planned by you. I just want to hit you a few times to vent my anger. Is this too much? As Thor spoke, he kept looking for Loki. As soon as he sees Loki appear again, Mjolnir in his hand will hit Loki without any hesitation. After repeating this for more than 10 times in a row, Loki was not attacked by Thor once, and the abandoned buildings around St. Fanganza were almost torn apart by Thor. If you have the ability to go to your father, how can you make trouble with me? Loki was sure that Thor's attacks would not hit him anyway, so he continued to verbally attack Thor while dodging. Satire. But after all, Thor has become mature after his previous experience. Faced with Loki's ridicule, he directly admitted, I just came to you because I didn't have the ability. Seeing Thor admitting his shortcomings so readily made Loki uncomfortable. But when I thought about it carefully, that's not right. If brother is really angry, how could he still respond so calmly after hearing my sarcasm just now? Something is wrong. Something is very wrong. Thinking of this, Loki began to take advantage of the relatively good moonlight tonight and observed Thor's expression. Then Loki discovered that although Thor looked furious, there was no trace of anger in his eyes. But since Thor wasn't angry, why did he act like he was going to fight to the death in front of him? Wait a minute, maybe bro, he doesn't want to show it to me at all, but wants to show it to some guy in junior high school with vision? After reacting, Loki quickly spoke to Thor and said, "Brother, I won't be polite if you do this again." "You're welcome? Come on then. I want to see how you can be polite." Although Thor's acting skills were average, fortunately he was still above average. Although the inner god cannot be acted out, at least the outer shape is in place. Since you said so, don't blame me for being ruthless. After saying that, Loki directly opened the mirror space and dragged Thor into his own domain. The reason why Loki chose to use the mirror space is because people outside cannot see what is happening in the mirror space. If Thor is indeed as Loki guessed, what he did just now was all a show for Heimdall in Asgard, or for Odin behind Heimdall. Then after the two of them entered the mirror space, Thor should take the initiative to stop. Okay, brother. Enough drama, right? In the mirror space, even Heimdall can't see through it. Don't worry. Sure enough, as soon as Loki finished speaking, Thor immediately stopped his attack and stopped attacking Loki. Thor breathed a long sigh of relief. "I knew that with your intelligence, brother, you would be able to guess my intentions. You were flattering me. I just saw that you were practicing. I am not a tapeworm in your belly. How could I know what you want to do? But you are not angry with me, which surprises me." "Zhao's," Thor shook his head. "It's not that I'm not angry. It's just that I've been teased by you so many times that I've become used to it. Besides, my father brought this up, and it's for my own good." After thinking about this clearly, the anger quickly subsided. More importantly, at this point, Thor's face suddenly showed a disgusting smile that made Loki's skin crawl all over. "The important thing is, if it weren't for the training you planned, how would I have the chance to meet Jane?" Seeing Thor's crazy look, a cold air rushed directly from the soles of Loki's feet to the Tianling cap, making Loki shiver. Is this what a man who has been single for more than 1,000 years looks like after suddenly being nourished by love? Asking for flowers, asking for collection, asking for monthly tickets. If you like it, please leave a comment and share it. Chapter 117, Part 1. So you deliberately pretended to be furious today and asked Heimdall to send you down to perform this scene with me. All this is for that Jane Foster, right? Loki looked at Thor in front of him speechlessly. It seemed that after the previous training, Thor had indeed grown, but his growth was very limited. Thor sighed and replied, "Oh, I have no choice, so I have to make my decision on you. As you know, my father has always been very rigid and stubborn in his thinking. I said that I wanted to be with Jane, but he didn't agree with anything he said. So in order to be able to come to Earth to see Jane, I can only do this. I'm sorry to bother you, brother." After hearing what Thor said, Luigi felt that he had to say a few words to Li Ding. "Father, he is not old-fashioned and stubborn. It's just that you can't understand his good intentions. Brother, you have to know that even the most ordinary people in Asgard have a long lifespan of more than 2,000 years. Even if the mortals in Midgard live longer, they only live for more than 100 years, and their youth is even shorter. No matter how deeply you feel for Jane Foster, you can even accept her aging. But 100 years later, you still have to accept the reality that you will lose your loved one. And by that time, the separation between you will only be more painful than it is now. As the saying goes, long-term pain is worse than short-term pain. My father just hopes that you can find a partner who can always be by your side. But Jane Fu at best, she can only become a passerby in your life." Although Loki's words were a bit unpleasant, they were facts that Thor had to accept. Being poured cold water on Loki's head like this, even Thor, who has always been positive and optimistic, can't help but become a little downcast. But Thor did not give up just like that, and still said stubbornly, "The world is so big, there must be a way to delay Jane's aging and death. As long as I can find this way, then won't the problems you mentioned be solved?" Loki shook his head and said ruthlessly again, "Don't say whether you can find such a method, even if I find it for you. Can you afford the price you need to pay for it? Even if you can afford such a price, for Jane Foster, is she willing to become an alien among humans, an immortal monster? More importantly, for mortals, death is often not the biggest curse in their lives, but living is. If you really let Jane Foster have a lifespan far beyond the limit of her life, it means that she will experience the elders she respects, the relatives she relies on, and the people she trusts countless times in her future life. All her friends will leave this world one after another before her. In other words, brother, you passed on the pain that should have been borne by yourself to Jane Foster. Even so, do you still insist on doing this?" After hearing what Loki said, Thor fell completely silent. Before this, he had never considered these things. He was just driven by emotion to think about how to break through all obstacles and live with Jane in the future. Seeing that Thor's mood was getting lower and lower, and his whole body seemed to be turning gray, Loki quickly comforted him in time. Brother, you don't have to be so sad. Everything I said is based on the assumption that you will really go all the way with Jane Foster in the future, and even get married. But the current relationship between you two can be considered a couple in love at best. So you don't need to think so much for the time being and enjoy this relationship. It's completely time to think about these issues again after you both make it clear that you want to work together in the future. What Loki said to Thor was actually not entirely a comfort to him. After all, for a man's growth, in addition to life, death, and suffering, emotions are also a hurdle that cannot be jumped. If Thor can handle the relationship between him and Jane Foster, it will definitely be a rare good thing for his personal growth. In the end, I don't know whether it was because Loki's persuasion worked, or Thor's original adjustment ability was strong enough. Thor chose to put aside all worries for the time being and deal with the emotional issues with Jane first. Loki is also a good person who goes to the end and directly helps open the portal and sends Thor to the city that Jane Foster and he had agreed upon before. Farewell to his incompetent brother. Loki glanced at the environment around St. Fangansa. After Thor's fuss just now, there is no longer a place to stay that can protect him from the wind and rain. Fortunately, Loki has his own solution when faced with this situation. I saw that he directly used the bloodline ability of giants of Jotunheim to build an ice house on the ruins of St. Fangansa. Next is a long waiting time. Loki doesn't know when Mephisto and the Witch Heart Demon will find this place. On the other side, Johnny, who became the Ghost Rider for the first time, was struggling with his own life. Originally, last night was the big day for him and his ex-girlfriend Roxanne to reunite after a long separation, but he didn't expect that instead of seeing his ex-girlfriend, he met this unlucky guy Mephisto. I ran to the cemetery late at night and found nothing, and even sent away a senior who was also a Ghost Rider. Then when I woke up in the morning and ran to my ex-girlfriend, all I was waiting for was an angry curse. Johnny just felt that his day was extremely unlucky. But then I thought about it. With his current situation, even if he got back together with Luoshan, he would not be able to live a peaceful life with Luoshan in the future. Rather than letting his troubles involve Luoshan in the future, it would be better to stop thinking about it now. Back at his home, Johnny began to try to control the hellfire energy in his body according to the instructions Sori gave him last night. Through concentration and thought, you can control the supernatural fire in your body, so you can control your own possessed soul. While Johnny kept reciting these words silently, he began to concentrate and mobilize the burning hellfire in his body. With the experience of his first transformation last night and Sori's careful teaching, Johnny successfully made the hellfire appear in his palm on the first try. Just when he wanted to continue trying, he found that the elevator in his home suddenly rose. Johnny quickly waved away the flame in his hand and looked towards the direction of the elevator. And the person who walked out of the elevator was none other than Forney's ex-girlfriend Roxanne, who he had always missed. Hi, I hope you don't mind, but I saw that your elevator was not locked, so I came up on my own initiative. Oh, it doesn't matter. I welcome you here at any time. Johnny seemed very nervous, and he was in a hurry and didn't know what to say. Roxanne, I came here to apologize to you. I'm leaving the city tonight, so I wanted to end with the angry words I just said. Johnny, it doesn't matter. I didn't take those words to heart. Roxanne, but it did matter to me. Those words were cruel and untrue, and it made me feel bad about myself. As they talked, the distance between Johnny and Roxanne became closer and closer, and then the four lips were stuck together for no apparent reason, and their tongues began to engage in a close combat. But just as the two of them were getting closer, Johnny suddenly pushed Luoshan away. Sorry, but I guess now is not a good time. Asking for flowers, asking for collection, asking for monthly tickets. If you like it, please comment and share to order one. Chapter 118, Part 1. Johnny, I don't understand. You can risk your life on the highway to come to me for a date on a motorcycle, but when I agree, you don't come to the date. You keep pictures of me at home, but you push me away when I kiss you. Hashtag FL+F equals. What the hell is going on? Do you really care about me, Johnny? Johnny's indifference made Roshan feel confused and also found it difficult to accept. She directly questioned Johnny face to face. In front of Roxanne, Johnny waved his hands helplessly, as if he wanted to explain something to her. But after Luoshan finished speaking, she kept looking at him quietly and didn't say anything to him. If you have anything to say to me, just say it boldly. No matter what it is, I can't accept it. Luoshan couldn't help but encourage him when she saw his appearance. Okay, but even if I tell you, you won't believe it. Johnny made up his mind. If you don't tell me clearly, how do you know I won't believe you? Luoshan retorted to him. After what I said, you will definitely think that I am a madman. Well, maybe I am really a madman. I hope that I am really a madman, and all this is my imagination. Don't worry, Johnny. As a reporter, I have seen a lot. No matter what you say, you can't scare me. Luoshan encouraged again. Okay, let me brew for a while. Let's put it this way. I sold my soul to the devil. So now I have to protect you. Well, then who is going to hurt me? Mephisto, that devil's name. I was working for him last night, so I couldn't go to the appointment. 08. A loud slap was thrown on Johnny's face by Roxanne. Then go live with your devil boss, Johnny. Do you think this kind of high-quality excuse can deal with me? Don't worry, big star. I won't pester you. I'll leave now, and there's never going to be any turning back. Feeling that her intelligence had been insulted, Roxanne angrily walked away, leaving Johnny alone and stunned. I knew you wouldn't believe it. The famous racing driver Takeuchi Shu once said, drivers don't need women. At the moment, Ghost Rider Johnny Blaze has finally succeeded in reaching this standard. He sat blankly in his room, looking at the motorcycles he had collected and carefully maintained, but there was endless emptiness in his eyes. But Johnny may have forgotten that every time night falls, there are still tasks waiting for him that must be completed. Johnny, who transformed into Ghost Rider for the second time, has begun to get used to his transformation ability and the hell fire in his body. He tried hard to distinguish the smell of sulfur from hell in the air, finally chose a direction, got on his motorcycle and rushed out of the window of the room. It wasn't until Johnny came to the door of a church that he stopped and got off the motorcycle. Before he pushed open the church door, Johnny could already smell the strong smell of sulfur. The hoarse and sharp voice coming from the church also proved that Johnny was not looking in the wrong place. Tell me, where is the contract of Saint Fangansa? Inside the church, the inner demon said to the priest in a threatening tone. I don't know what you are talking about. Although the priest of the church was very nervous, his devout faith kept him firm in his mission. Don't try to lie to me. You have been guarding this secret and the Saint Fangansa contract for so many years, but what have you gained? Tell me its location, and you will be liberated from this matter, and I will mercifully spare your life. Just when the inner demon was still trying to get the location of Saint Fangansa's contract from the priest, the door of the church suddenly shattered under the impact of a powerful external force. I finally found you, Wu Xinmo. If you have the ability, don't bully an ordinary person. How about I give you a fight? With that said, Johnny, who rushed in from the outside, directly opened the chains wrapped around his body, then attached the hellfire and used it towards the witch heart demon. With the reminder given by Loki last night, Johnny, who knew that the Eye of Judgment was ineffective against the witch heart demon, did not use this skill. Instead, he planned to use a chain that had been strengthened by hellfire to trap the opponent first, and then based on the actual situation, take the next step of attack. 0. Please give me flowers. The chain thrown by Johnny accurately wrapped around the witch's body, and the fire of hell continued to spread along the chain to the witch's body, trying to cause harm to the witch in this way. But in reality, it seems that the effect of this trick is not that good. I saw the evil spirit demon looking at the empty eye sockets on Johnny's skull with an evil smile on his face. His expression was very relaxed, and there was no sign of being burned by the fire of hell. Obviously, the hellfire wrapped around the chains alone is not enough to cause substantial damage to the witch heart demon. After realizing this, Johnny did not hesitate to increase the output of hellfire on the chain. Zero Shirley told him last night that sometimes he had to learn to make good use of the weapons in his hands, because weapons allowed him to use the smallest amount of energy to achieve the best results. So Johnny took out the flintlock pistol that Sari had passed down to him last night from his waist, and then pointed the muzzle at the witch heart demon who was already bound by chains. The moment he saw Johnny draw his gun, the inner demon that had been acting so calmly just now started. He immediately rushed back before Johnny pulled the trigger, relying on his own strong strength to retreat, directly pulling Johnny on the other end of the chain out of balance. Then, just as Johnny readjusted his center of gravity, the witch heart demon had already broken free of the chains on him, and then crossed the distance between the two people and came to Johnny's back. Boom. The witch inner demon held down Johnny's skull head and pushed him directly to the ground. The hellfire on Johnny's body was also forcibly dispelled by the powerful magic power of the witch heart demon, and the Ghost Rider's transformation was released. Now, do you still think you are stronger than me? Evil Spirit Rider haha. I, the witch heart demon, am the stronger one. Mephisto thought he could deal with me by sending you here, but he was totally wrong. After I get the Saint Fangansa contract, I will let him know who is the more miserable one. Asking for flowers, asking for collection, asking for monthly votes. If you like it, please comment and share, and you will lose money. Chapter 119, Part 1. Johnny, who was beaten back to his original form by the evil spirit, is now in a state of panic. When he becomes Ghost Rider, because of the blessing of supernatural ability, he will be affected by the spirit of vengeance and become fearless. But when he returned to his original form of Johnny Blaze, facing a demon like the witch, even as a motorcycle stuntman who was often surrounded by death, it was impossible not to feel a little disturbed in his heart. Seeing that the maniacally laughing demon in front of him had bared his fangs towards him, he seemed ready to take his own life. Johnny suddenly remembered what the mysterious man had said to him last night, and hurriedly said to the witch inner demon, "I know where the St. Famansa contract is." Oh. Hearing this, Wu Xinma temporarily gave up the idea of killing his father's ghostwriter. After all, compared to humiliating Mephisto, getting the St. Famansa contract as soon as possible and raising his strength to the level of the Demon King is the top priority for the Witch Heart Demon when he comes to the world this time. Tell me, where is the contract of St. Famansa? As Johnny expected, the Witch Heart Demon was attracted by the news he threw out. I can tell you, but you have to guarantee that I can leave you safely after knowing the whereabouts of the 923 in the St. Famansa contract. Seeing that the evil spirit took the bait, Johnny immediately proposed to use St. Famansa. The news of the contract is the trading condition for one's life. Absolutely no problem, I promise you. Wu Xinmo promised without any hesitation. As for how much he could believe his words. Anyway, Johnny didn't see any sincerity in the expression on his face. Don't forget that I also made a deal with another devil. That time I was tricked by Mephisto, so I can't trust the promise you, a devil made. Johnny naturally wouldn't believe what the Witch Heart Demon said. He was very sure that if he immediately told the Witch Heart Demon that the St. Famansa contract had been brought to the town of St. Famansa contract by a mysterious person, then he would become a corpse in the next second. But if Johnny doesn't reveal any information, he is likely to anger the inner demon and be tortured by him both physically and mentally. Then what do you want? The Witch Heart Demon seemed to be asking Johnny for his opinion, but it could be heard from the cold tone that he had lost patience at this moment. Therefore, Johnny did not continue to challenge the patience of the Witch Heart Demon. At the same time, in order to preserve his hope of escape, Johnny said to him, "What do you think of this? I'll drive a motorcycle outside the church and personally take you to the place where the Covenant of Santa Fanganza is located. After you get there, you take what you want and I'll ride away and never show up again. In front of you." After listening to Johnny's proposal, the Witch Heart Demon took back his devilish face, showed a fake smile and said, "Deal." However, in the heart of the witch, at the moment, he was laughing at Johnny's naivety. "Do you think you can escape from my hands by riding a motorcycle? After I get the St. Famansa contract, you will be the first to be stabbed as a sacrifice to celebrate my becoming the devil." But is Johnny really that naive? Definitely not. How could Johnny, who had already suffered a big loss from Mephisto, be as naive as the Witch Heart Devil thought? From the beginning, Johnny had no hope of escaping from the evil spirit by relying on his own ability. He pinned all his safety on that powerful mysterious man. It doesn't matter that the mysterious man can directly kill the Witch's Heart Demon. As long as he can temporarily delay the Witch's Heart Demon for a while, Johnny will have enough time to escape to a safe distance. Riding on Johnny's beloved motorcycle, there is absolutely no traffic jam in a place like Texas at night. What's more, the place the two of them were heading to was St. Famansa, which had been abandoned for who knows how many years. When the Witch Heart Demon knew that Johnny was actually going to take him to St. Famansa, he almost killed him directly behind his back. Because the Witch Heart Demon knew very well that the St. Famansa contract had been stolen by the first ghostwriter who betrayed Mephisto more than 100 years ago, so it was impossible for it to be in St. Fangantha. In order to confirm the truth of this statement, after he came to the human world, he immediately went to St. Fangantha to check, and indeed he did not find the existence of the contract. Fortunately, Johnny explained in time. The St. Famansa contract was taken away from the previous ghostwriter not long ago. I was at the scene and happened to hear that the other party was going to bury the contract at the place where it was born. If that man had not told lies, the contract must be in St. Vincent's. Johnny did not tell the truth all at once. Half-truths and half-false answers were the best way to deceive others' trust. When the Witch Heart Demon heard this, he didn't embarrass Johnny anymore. He just asked him to speed up a little more. It seemed that he couldn't wait to get the St. Vanessa contract. But when the two of them first arrived in Santa Fanganza, they both showed surprised expressions when they saw the tragic situation of the town in front of them. Because at the moment Santa Fanganza is more like a ruins that has withstood the air raids than an abandoned town. As for Wu Xinma, who had just been here not long ago, the shock in his heart was much stronger than Johnny's. Then the two people soon discovered that among the ruins, a luxurious igloo stood in the center of the town, which seemed so out of tune with the surrounding environment. Johnny reacted immediately, pointed to the luxurious igloo and said, "That's right there. The man who stole the contract from St. Fanganza is in the igloo." At the moment, the Witch Heart Demon couldn't care less about Johnny beside him. After hearing this, he left him behind and started to rush towards the igloo. Seeing this, Johnny didn't show the slightest hesitation, turned the front of the car, turned the accelerator to the bottom, and started to return along the original road as quickly as possible. Although Johnny was also very curious in his heart, who was stronger between the mysterious man and the evil spirit. But unfortunately, his strength did not allow him to stay here and continue watching the show, so it was better to run away to save his life. On the other side, Wu Xinma, who quickly approached the igloo, prepared to break through the crystal wall of ice in front of him without even thinking, giving the opponent a head start. But the witch heart demon obviously underestimated the strength of the ice body created by Loki. Bang! Wu Xinma hit the wall of the ice house with his head. He thought he could break through it directly with his body strength, but he didn't expect that the ice wall did not show any damage, and his head was broken first. At this moment, Loki in the igloo also opened the door and walked out. Loki had already discovered Johnny and the witch before they even got close to here. It's just that Loki didn't expect that the witch heart demon would actually design such a funny appearance for him, and he directly hit his head on the ice body he created with freezing air. Does the witch and mind devil think that an igloo that can remain intact in the scorching hell of Texas will be fragile enough that he can easily break it? No way. No way. Does the witch heart demon really think so? When he hit it with his head, he failed to break through the ice wall. Instead, he was crushed on the spot. Wu Xinma was filled with shame and anger, but he was also shocked that the hardness of the ice wall was so unusual. However, what shocked him even more, or what could be said to be frightening, was that the man who walked out of the igloo was actually the mysterious man who killed the wind demon and Mephisto duplication in front of him that night. The legs of Wu Xinma were so frightened that they softened on the spot. After all, although Mephisto's strength is suppressed by the barrier in the human world, to defeat Mephisto's duplication so lightly as this mysterious man did, even an arrogant witch-hearted demon thinks he cannot do it. This is why the witch heart demon escaped so decisively that night, because he really couldn't defeat the opponent. Chapter 119, Part 2. But what the witch heart devil didn't expect was that the person Johnny said took away the contract of Saint Fangansa was actually the mysterious person that night. At the moment, the witch heart demon began to regret that he did not kill Johnny first and then rush here. At least he could have someone to support him before he died. If he had known that the person in the igloo was this guy, there would be no way the witch heart demon would have thrown himself into the trap. Just when the witch heart demon was feeling uneasy, Loki came to him with a gentle smile and said in a slightly excited tone, "I've been waiting for a whole day, but I've waited for you." The witch heart demon couldn't figure out what Loki meant by 3.8, so he could only add in his mind, "Okay you. I didn't expect that a powerful person like you could learn to join forces with others to design the trap trick me into it." He thought Johnny was Loki's bastard, and he had deliberately approached him just now to show weakness in front of him. After he was numb and careless, he led him into the trap that he had set all by himself. If Loki knew these plots concocted by the witch heart demon, he would definitely cry out for injustice. He was obviously setting up a conspiracy here. Who knew that Johnny, a guy like this, would adapt to the situation and directly use him as a gunman? Just when Wu Xinma was mentally prepared for the outcome of his business being half finished, he discovered that the other party had not yet taken action against him. The inner demon of the witch who was filled with doubts thought, "Does the other party want to humiliate me first? Sure can't be killed. If that's the case, then even if I try my best to blow myself up, I have to let the other party know that I'm a witch before I die." The backbone of the inner demon. So Wu Xinma carefully opened his closed eyes, only to see an incredible scene. Asking for flowers, asking for collection, asking for monthly tickets. If you like it, please leave a comment and share it. Chapter 120, Part 1. The witch heart demon opened his eyes carefully, and then saw Loki handing a scroll in his hand to him with a smile. "What are you doing standing still? Take it. This is the Saint Fangansa contract you have been dreaming about day and night. With it, you can become a demon king level demon like Mephisto. Take it now." At the moment, with this situation, Wu Xinma's mind was completely blank. Before he even realized what was going on, his body was already under Loki's bewitchment and involuntarily stretched out his hand to take the Saint Fangansa contract handed over by Loki. When the witch heart demon came to his senses completely and understood what he was holding in his hand, he instantly fell into uncontrollable ecstasy. This is the contract of Saint Fangansa. Once he gets it, he, the inner demon, can immediately become a real demon king, with enough power to fight against Mephisto. More importantly, the unknown mysterious man in front of him will no longer be able to pose a threat to him. Or even conversely, he is the one who is superior. Thinking about this, Wu Xinma didn't care about the conspiracy and purpose of the person opposite him in simply handing over the Saint Fangansa contract to him. 07 He summoned his only two subordinates, Earth Demon and Water Demon, and ordered them, "You are taking care of my hair. If while I am summoning the dead spirit of Saint Fangansa's contract, the person opposite makes any move that threatens my safety, then even if you risk your lives, you must buy enough time for me. Are you clear?" Neither the Earth Demon nor the Water Demon spoke, but they nodded in unison, with a look on their faces as if they were ready to die. The Witch Heart Demon nodded with satisfaction. He also knew that it was impossible for the Earth Demon and the Water Demon to stop the mysterious man. He was also betting. Bet that the other party will not take action. Bet that your two subordinates can buy enough time for yourself. If there were other better options, The witch heart demon would definitely not want to take such a risk. But fate is not controlled by anyone. Faced with the powerful, mysterious man who is guarding this place, the evil spirit must bet on this with his own life. The witch heart demon slowly opened the contract scroll in his hand, while observing the reaction of the mysterious man not far away. After confirming that the other party had no plans to take action for the time being, he quickly looked at the scroll and recited the contents of the contract. This is the Saint Fanyansa contract. All souls come to me according to the contract and become part of my power. As soon as the witch heart demon finished speaking, countless Guanghuns in the ruins of Saint Fanyansa, who had been suppressed underground, instantly reappeared in the town. The dead souls controlled by the contract have long lost their consciousness, but the unwillingness left behind during life and the resentment accumulated after death make these dead souls possess powerful power. Under the command of the witch heart demon, the souls of Saint Fanyansa poured into his body from his mouth one after another. After the last soul became a part of him, the witch heart demon looked at Loki, who was still standing not far away, with a fierce look and said, "From now on, my name is Ghost, because we are many. The soul of this world, everything in this world, now belongs to my group of ghosts." Listen to the inner demon. Oh no. According to him, it's time to call him a group of ghosts. The ghost's second explosive speech made Loki instantly get goosebumps when he saw this scene. After Loki instantly killed the earth demon and water demon, his mood finally returned to calm. The first reaction of the ghosts who witnessed all this was not to avenge his two men, but to recruit Loki. Your strength is not bad. For the sake of personally delivering the Saint Fanyansa contract to me, I can give you a chance to serve me. I advise you not to be ignorant of flattery. If you dare to refuse, I will personally send you to hell to accompany my 3 men. Ha ha. It made me laugh so hard. I'm sorry, I'm really a professional, and I don't usually laugh unless I can't help it. Ha 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 ha. Hearing the threats from the group of ghosts, he burst out laughing. Whether you are a witch-hearted demon or a group of ghosts, since I dare to hand over the Saint Fanyansa contract directly to you, you don't think you can become stronger than me, do you? So, you demons, maybe you sucked in too much sulfur and your brain is hard to use, right? Do you know why I gave you the contract of Saint Fanyansa so easily? Why? Until this moment, after listening to what Loki said, the ghosts began to panic. Because he found that he seemed to be happy a little too early. Loki didn't give in and gave the answer directly. Because if you were too weak, it would be too uneconomical to kill you directly. The ghosts didn't know what the relationship between their own life and death and the good deal mentioned by the other party was. But the uneasiness in his heart was getting stronger and stronger. But now, the ghosts have no way out. If he survives, he obviously has only one choice, and that is to kill the threat in front of him. You? Don't try to bluff me. I don't believe that after devouring so many innocent souls, you will be my opponent. Kill. The group of ghosts who finally gave it a try mobilized the huge power brought by thousands of innocent souls in their bodies and launched a blow with all their strength towards Loki. However, facing this attack whose power had reached the early stage of level Godfather, Loki just smiled and said, "Thank you for the hospitality." Immediately afterwards, the ice blade in 767's hand condensed, and his eyes, death eyes, opened. The ice blade crossed the death line on the ghosts, and without any surprise, it ended with the death of the ghosts. From the beginning to the end, Loki not only didn't break out a drop of sweat, but even his hair was not messy at all. Loki doesn't care about the life or death of the ghosts either. The reason why he had to be killed was not for the so-called justice. All Loki cares about is how much his death eye skill proficiency can increase after killing the ghosts. System. Open the skills panel. Skill. Demonic Eye of Direct Death. Proficiency. 19.4%. The results are pretty good. 0.4% of it is estimated to be contributed by those two brats. The remaining 8% should be contributed by the witch heart demon. This increase in proficiency is really quite a lot. It seems that we have to find some powerful targets to kill in order to reach the full proficiency of Death Eye in the shortest time. I don't know where the original god Ego went. It really seems like he was chopped down. At the moment, Loki doesn't know that a major event that will allow him to quickly improve his proficiency in the Death Eye skill is coming. Asking for flowers, asking for collection, asking for monthly tickets. If you like it, please leave a comment and share it. Chapter 121, Part 1. The scepter in my hand can sense that the Tesseract has awakened. It's in a small world right now, the human world. They are trying to harness the power of the Tesseract, but they will not succeed. Only I and my allies can harness it. Gamora, I will send you as a vanguard. Your mission is to use all methods to get the Tesseract. Then our ally Ronan the Accuser will lead his fleet and Chitauri army to attack Earth. 11. Ronan provided us with information about the infinite gems, and we gave him the Earth in exchange. As for humans, we still follow the old rules, kill half and keep the other half. Among the battleships, On the high seat and throne of eternal Titan Thanos, he gave orders to Gamora, a Zahubari man who bowed his head and half-kneeled below. But no one in the battleship saw the flash of hatred in Gamora's eyes, hidden in the shadows. However, Gamora, who grew up under Thanos training, has long been able to control her emotions well. At the same time, a plan to change her own destiny was brewing in Gamora's mind, but on the surface Gamora still said respectfully without hesitation, "Father, Earth." In a research base jointly established by SHIELD in the United States National Aeronautics and Space Administration. It was already midnight at this moment, but the research base was filled with excitement. A large number of SHIELD agents are transporting and transferring important experimental equipment and research materials in the base, and scientists belonging to the National Aeronautics and Space Administration of the United States are also evacuating in a panic. Only Agent Phil Coulson stood calmly in this busy scene, looking so out of tune with the surrounding environment. Soon, the sound of propellers rotating at high speed came from the distance, and a Black Hawk-armed helicopter fell from the sky. Coming off the helicopter were Maria Hill, Executive Director of S.H.I.E.L.D., and Nick Fury, current S.H.I.E.L.D. Director. Obviously, it was these two officers that Phil Coulson was waiting for here. How bad is the situation now? When Fury came to Phil Coulson, he didn't even say hello first, which shows how urgent the experimental base is facing now. Hearing Fury's question, Phil Coulson replied with a look of embarrassment, "Sir, the worst thing is that we don't know how bad the situation is now." Fury didn't know what to say when he heard this. He could only wave to Phil Coulson and motion for him to lead the way. On the way to the scene of the incident, Phil Coulson also introduced the specific circumstances of the emergency to Fury and Hill. Phil Coulson, Dr. Selvig detected the energy waves released by the Tesseract 4 hours ago. Fury, if I remember correctly, Selvig was not approved by NASA to enter the testing phase. Phil Coulson, Dr. Selvig didn't test it. He wasn't in the lab at the time. It was triggered automatically. Hill, Tesseract starts on its own? Phil Coulson nodded in response. Fury, what is the energy level of the Tesseract now? Phil Coulson, it was still climbing and Dr. Selvig couldn't stop it, so we ordered an immediate evacuation. Fury, how long will it take for complete evacuation? Phil Coulson, half an hour is perfectly adequate. Fury, make them faster. Upon hearing this, Phil Coulson, who had sent the two to their destination, turned around and directed the evacuation of the people on site. After Phil Coulson left, Hill said to Fury, "Sir, I don't think evacuation has any effect at all." In front of Phil Coulson just now, Hill wanted to save some face for Director Fury. Now that there are only two of them left, Hill naturally has to exert her functions as executive director and put forward her own opinions from different angles. Then what should we do? Let them all go back and rest? Fury was now incompetent and furious. After all, he was the one who led the restart of the Pegasus project, but now something beyond his control has happened. For Fury, it is absolutely it's a stain. Hill also understood the pressure on Fury at the moment and did not continue to refute him, but patiently explained. What I mean is, if we cannot control the energy of the Tesseract, there will be no such thing as a safe distance. Then the entire world will be destroyed by this energy. Fury definitely knows this, which is why he, as S.H.I.E.L.D. director, is here at this moment. If the worst happens, Fury will use his last resort. Agent Hill, this is not your concern right now. You go and ensure the safe transfer of the Phase 2 prototype. Sir, it's now this time. Are you sure you want to give them priority? Hill questioned. But Fury was impatient at the moment. He stopped and looked at Hill seriously and said, "Unless the end of the world really comes, just follow my orders. Phase 2. Every part of the prototype has been it's your responsibility to move out. Do you understand me, Agent Hill?" "Yes, sir." Since Fury said so, Hill, the executive director, could only obey the S.H.I.E.L.D. director's order and left to handle the tasks assigned by Fury. After walking down another flight of stairs and reaching nearly 100 meters underground, Nick Fury finally arrived at the real experimental site of Tesseract. "Tell me what's going on, Dr. Selvig." Eric Selvig, who was nervously looking for a solution, saw Fury appear and hurriedly stepped forward and said, "The current situation is that the Tesseract is not very obedient. It is not only awakened, but also active on its own. How about unplugging it?" Fury suggested. "No, the Tesseract is originally an energy source. Even if we cut off the external power supply, it can still power itself." Dr. Selvig objected. "Isn't this what we want? To obtain the energy in the Tesseract?" Fury asked again. "The problem is that we can't control the energy it releases, and we are still far from being able to do this." Dr. Selvig answered truthfully. "Okay, where is Agent Barton?" Seeing that he could not get any more useful information from Dr. Selvig, Fury decided to change the subject of the inquiry. "Are you talking about Hawkeye? He stays in his nest as always." Dr. Selvig said jokingly, pointing to the ceiling above his head with his thumb. "Tell me, Barton, did you see anyone activate the Tesseract?" Barton shook his head and said, There are no suspicious persons coming in or out, and Dr. Selvig has no problem. No one in the experimental base contacts the outside world or transmits information. If there is any interference, I don't think it comes from our side, sir. Fury looked at Barton confused and asked, "Not from our side. What do you mean by that?" Barton explained, "I heard that the Tesseract is a passage to the other side of the universe, and passages are two-way, right?" As soon as Barton finished speaking, the Tesseract on the side seemed to respond to his statement with a violent energy reaction. Just when everyone was surprised by this, a beam of light shot out from the Tesseract, forming a space wormhole in the laboratory. Clint Barton, the Hawkeye with the best eyesight among everyone present, saw the graceful green figure coming out of the wormhole at a glance, asking for flowers, asking for collection, asking for monthly tickets. If you like it, please leave a comment and share it. Chapter 122, Part 1. The graceful figure that appeared in the experimental base from the space wormhole was Gamora, who was sent to Earth by Thanos to serve as a pioneer. Gamora, who has distinctive green skin, aroused the vigilance of all the people on Earth as soon as she appeared. But under everyone's alert gaze, Gamora raised the scepter in her hand. Seeing the gem on the top of the scepter in her hand light up, all the SHIELD agents present, led by Nick Fury, pulled out their guns at their waists and aimed at Gamora in front of them. As for Barton, nicknamed Hawkeye, he took out the arrow from his back, placed the arrow on his longbow, and also aimed it at Gamora. However, at this moment, Gamora calmly said to everyone, "Don't be nervous, I am not your enemy. If you don't want this place to become a ruin due to the collapse of space, you'd better let me open the Tesseract first. The space channel is closed." Hearing this, all the agents paid some attention and looked at Nick Fury, who was their leader. Fury also knew what they meant when they looked at him. They were waiting for him to respond. But regarding this matter, Fury didn't know whether what the other party said was true or false. He could only look at Dr. Selvig next to him and asked, "Dr. Selvig, is what she said true?" Dr. Selvig nodded and said, "She must not be lying. If there is no stabilizer to control the energy output of the Tesseract, then there is indeed a great possibility of space collapse, which will trigger a violent chain reaction." After receiving Dr. Selvig's confirmation, Fury looked at Gamora and said, "Okay, let's trust you for now. But if you do something dangerous, then our SHIELDS bullets are not very good." Gamora rolled her eyes and ignored Fury's threat. With the primitive thermal weapons currently available on Earth, it would be impossible to injure her. However, Gamora had her own plans and purposes when she came to Earth this time, and she did not want to cause misunderstandings with the people on Earth. Now that Fury has agreed to her action, Gamora has no worries and launches the energy in the scepter towards the Tesseract. As this energy hit the Tesseract accurately, the energy level that had been rising before finally stabilized. The space channel just opened by Tesseract finally closed slowly after losing the energy support of Tesseract, without causing any disaster. "Okay, this, beautiful lady, can you introduce yourself now?" After seeing the other party hit the Tesseract with a strange light and successfully calmed it down, Fury finally let go of his uneasiness and focused all his attention on the unknown alien lady in front of him. "My name is Gamora, and I come from the planet Zelhubari. The reason why I appear here today, Akb, is because I was assigned by a cosmic warlord named Thanos to come to Earth to seize the Tesseract." At this point, Gamora said a little. There was a pause. After hearing Gamora's self-introduction and the mention of cosmic warlord, and "she's here to seize the Tesseract," Fury's expression instantly became tense. Around him, the agents who had already relaxed once again tightened their grip on the firearms in their hands, and at the same time stared closely at Gamora's every move. Not to mention Barton, since Gamora appeared, he has never let go of his vigilance, and the bow and arrow in his hand are always aimed at the opponent's vital parts. Gamora ignored the performance of everyone in SHIELD and continued, "However, I do not intend to act according to Thanos' instructions. I came to the Earth this time in the hope of uniting the power of the Earth to stop Thanos' ambitions." "Miss Gamora, can you stop gasping when you speak? Important information should be said at once." Fury couldn't help but complain. Gamora shrugged and said, "This is my first time trying to communicate using the language of your Earth. There are some wrong grammar and sentence fragmentation, but there is nothing I can do about it." "Understood, then I will listen to your speech more patiently, Miss Gamora. Since you just said that you hope to form an alliance with the power of the Earth, can you first tell me who the Thanos you're talking about is? Who? How did he know the Tesseract was on our planet?" In response to Fury's question, Gamora organized her language a little, and Tuan answered, "Thanos is a powerful being that no one knows in the universe, and he is also the ultimate demon who has killed countless people. Under him are the 4 Obsidian generals who look up to him. They have been led by the 4 Obsidian generals and are obedient to Thanos. From the Dark Army, my hometown, Zelhubari, was killed by Thanos and destroyed by the Dark Army, and I became Thanos' adopted daughter and was raised by him as a weapon. This is why I betrayed Thanos." Reasons. As for how he knew that the Tesseract was on Earth, It was because Thanos' Dark Legion had recently become allies with the Accuser Legion of the Kree Empire. Ronan of the Accuser Legion told Thanos about this. See. In addition, it is because of your research on Tesseract that Thanos sensed through this scepter and finally confirmed the news of Tesseract on Earth. Fury felt like he was struck by lightning when he heard this. The reason he proposed to restart the Pegasus project and use the Tesseract to conduct research on weapon development was because he hoped that when the Earth encountered threats from alien civilizations, it would have the ability to protect itself. But he never thought that what attracted the attention of alien civilizations to the Earth would be the Pegasus project that he advocated to restart. What shocked Fury even more was that the Kree Empire had made a comeback. You must know that the last time the Kree Empire appeared outside the Earth's atmosphere, it was defeated by 3 girls, Elsa, Anna, and Carol. Now that the Accuser fleet of the Kree Empire has arrived on Earth again, its strength will definitely be improved than before. However, compared with that time, the Earth has not undergone any substantial evolution in terms of strength. Could it be that when the enemy actually declares war on the Earth, he will have to use his only and last trump card? Just when Fury was worried about the future of the Earth, Gamora once again revealed a desperate news to him. This time, Thanos assigned me to come to Earth to seize the Tesseract just as a pioneer, and soon the Earth will face the invasion of the 2 most powerful cosmic armies in the universe. In exchange for information on the location of the Tesseract, Thanos will help Ronan complete his invasion of Earth. Now the Chitauri army under the Dark Legion and the Accuser army under Ronan Moore are already gathering. The star map of the Accuser Legion is marked with the precise cosmic coordinates of the Earth. After they are assembled, they will come to the Earth through space-jumping technology and invade the Earth. If we calculate from now on, the time it will take them to reach Earth will only take 2 Earth days at the fastest. Upon hearing the news, the surrounding scientists first fell into panic and despair, and even the SHIELD agents were filled with uneasiness. But as the king of agents, S.H.I.E.L.D. director, Nick Fury, the more desperate the situation becomes, the calmer he becomes. He did not continue to ask Gamora for specific information about the invader, because he knew very well that compared with the Earth, the opponent's strength was absolutely overwhelming. Fury asked a question that surprised everyone present. Since the enemy we are facing is so powerful, I would like to know, Ms. Gamora, why do you think the Earth can win this war? Gamora looked at Fury's eyes and couldn't help but smile. I never said that I thought the Earth could win this war. How did you know? Hearing this, Fury further confirmed his suspicion. If I didn't have full confidence, I don't believe that Miss Gamora, you have been holding back for so long, and you would suddenly decide to betray. But the fact is, Miss Gamora, you not only betrayed Thanos, but also proposed to unite our forces on Earth. That can only mean one thing. You know some secrets that we don't know, and this secret will be possible decide the real victory or defeat of this game. Gamora did not deny. You are very smart. I think we can start talking about cooperation now. Asking for flowers, asking for collection, asking for monthly tickets. If you like it, please leave a comment and share it. Chapter 123, Part 1. Phil Coulson, the evacuation mission can be stopped. Next, I need you to go to New York in person and tell Tony and Captain that it's time for the Avengers to assemble. In the laboratory, Fury said seriously to Phil Coulson on the other end of the communicator. After saying that, he looked at Barton next to him and said, Barton, Thor returned to Earth not long ago and is now with his little girlfriend Jane Foster. I need you to go to the foggy capital of England to rescue Thor. Take it to our helicarrier. Yes, sir. Barton put away the folding bow in his hand, put the arrows back into the quiver behind his back, and turned to leave. But at this moment Fury stopped him. Wait, Barton. There is one more thing. Help me tell the Romanoff agent, and let her take Bruce Banner aboard the ship. Barton nodded. Copy that. It wasn't until Barton left that Fury walked up to Gamora and said, Well, Miss Gamora, if you don't mind, let's change to a more formal place and talk about our mutual cooperation. I really want to know what secret Miss Gamora knows that makes you so confident in our Earth. To be honest, as an Earthling, I was so panicked after knowing the news about the enemy. Although Fury was panicking when he spoke, both his expression and tone showed his calmness. Gamora did not reject Fury's proposal, because the crisis in Tesseract was over, and Hill's mission was temporarily over. She returned to Fury. But before the 3 left the laboratory, Gamora suggested to the 2, I think it is best for you to temporarily stop research on Tesseract until this crisis is over. Otherwise, if the Tesseract remains active, I cannot guarantee whether other Thanos minions will be teleported to Earth in the future. In addition, one more reminder, the Tesseract is not something that the current Earth can hold. You don't understand the origin of this treasure at all. As long as the Tesseract is on the Earth, Thanos will not stop invading the Earth. Thanos' obsession with the Tesseract is far beyond your imagination. Fury raised his eyebrows when he heard this and said, Then I think that during our conversation later, maybe you can tell us about the Tesseract. After saying that, Fury looked at Hill again. Tell Dr. Selvig that the Pegasus project is temporarily suspended. You go take the Tesseract, and we will leave here right away. Hill found a suitcase, put the Tesseract in it, followed Fury and Gamora, and left the laboratory. The three people boarded the helicopter and quickly left the experimental base, heading towards a coordinate in the Pacific Ocean. Soon, when the helicopter landed, they had arrived on a huge amount of mothership. On the bridge, the three of them were sitting in the conference room. As an outsider, Gamora naturally waited quietly for the owner here to speak first. As Fury's deputy, Hill sat quietly aside, waiting for Fury to speak. Miss Gamora, the first thing I want to say is that I agree in principle with the cooperation you proposed. But whether this cooperation can ultimately be achieved depends on the extent of our mutual trust. Director Nick Fury, I have no objection to this. As for the information you want to know, as long as I know it, I can tell you without reservation. Gamora said. Then let's talk about the Tesseract first. According to the information I know, this treasure has appeared on the Earth for a long time. At least 1,000 years ago, the ruler of Asgard brought the Tesseract to the Earth. But until today, we still know very little about this treasure. Since you mentioned before that Thanos is determined to win the Tesseract, I guess its power must be more than what we see. Gamora, what I know about Tesseract is from Thanos. The real name of Tesseract should be called Space Gem, which is one of the 6 infinite gems born at the beginning of the Big Bang. The purpose of Thanos establishing the Dark Legion and leading his 4 obsidian generals to invade the universe is to collect all 6 infinite gems into his own hands. Fury, I think the reason why he wants to collect 6 infinite gems is not because of a simple collecting habit. Gamora, definitely not. Thanos has always believed that resources are limited in our universe, and that unlimited growth in the population will trigger people's competition for resources, eventually leading to the destruction of the entire universe. So every time Thanos encounters a civilization, he will massacre half of all life on the planet. He believes that it is his just act that allows the civilization on this planet to obtain longer with limited resources, the continuation of time. And once Thanos collects 6 infinite gems, he can instantly wipe out half of the life in his universe with just a snap of his fingers. Fury has always thought that he has seen a big scene. After all, 3 girls defeated an entire alien fleet with their bare hands. Fury believes that there is no other person in the entire Earth who has seen such a thing besides him. But even so, Fury was inevitably shocked when he heard Gamora say that if Thanos collected all 6 infinite gems, he could easily wipe out half of all life in the universe. Imagine that on a sunny day, you have breakfast as usual and drive to the office, and then suddenly half the population of the Earth evaporates. 3 Regardless of whether you or your loved ones are one of the unlucky ones, this kind of unforeseen horror will undoubtedly make the half of the survivors completely lose their sense of security, and they may live in a state of constant panic for the rest of their lives. Listening to what you said, it seems that we must win this battle no matter what. The Tesseract cannot fall into the hands of Thanos under any circumstances. Fury said firmly, even with a hint of determination in his tone. Zero, please give me flowers. Yes, this is also the purpose of coming to Earth this time when I pretended to accept Thanos' assignment. Gamora responded. Speaking of which, I still don't know why, Ms. Gamora, you are so confident in the Earth? You have to know whether it is compared with Thanos and the Dark Legion in your mouth, or compared with the accuser fleet of the Kree Empire. The Earth is the absolutely weak side. I really can't imagine how we can win this war. After Fury finished asking the question, Gamora immediately continued, I wonder if Director Nick Fury has heard of the names Asgard and Jotunheim? Hearing this, Fury nodded first, then shook his head, and replied, I know Asgard. It is said to be the ruler of the 9 kingdoms. The Earth is what they call Midgard. It is under the rule and protection of Asgard, under Zero. As for the other Jotunheim you mentioned, I only know that it, like the Earth, belongs to one of the 9 kingdoms. I don't know more about the others. Gamora was not surprised by Fury's answer, so she began to introduce to Fury, you are right about Asgard. At its peak, Asgard could be said to be one of the most powerful civilizations in the entire universe. Compared to the Kree Empire is no less generous. I just don't know why, thousands of years ago, Asgard gradually began to shrink its military power and defined its own rule as the territory of the 9 kingdoms. But precisely because of this, Asgard's ability to control the 9 kingdoms can be said to have reached a very solid level. Coupled with the illustrious reputation that Odin, the ruler of Asgard, once left in the universe, even if Thanos wanted to get the Tesseract, he would not dare to send a large number of troops to the Earth, let alone enter the territory of the 9 kingdoms in person. As for Jotunheim, it was originally just a small country with little reputation in the universe, but since Odin's adopted son became the king of Jotunheim 1,000 years ago, this country has quickly become an existence that is not inferior to Asgard in strength. Under the protection of these 2 powerful countries, whether it is Thanos or Ronan, the number of troops sent to the Earth is bound to not be too many. Because once Asgard and Jotunheim consider it to be a threat, then these 2 countries will make the counterattack is definitely something they don't want to face. After listening to Gamora's introduction to Asgard and Jotunheim, Fury felt a little more confident about the upcoming war. But we can't place our destiny entirely on the protection and assistance of others. I think the source of your confidence, Miss Gamora, should be much more than this, right? Fury asked tentatively. Chapter 123, Part 2. Asking for flowers, asking for favorites, asking for monthly tickets. If you like it, please comment and share as far as possible. Chapter 124, Part 1. It seems that director Nick Fury is indeed a master of insight into people's hearts, but you don't seem to understand the power of your Earth that well. I also learned about this matter from the lieutenant of Ronan the Accuser. According to him, the fleet of their Accuser Legion visited the Earth decades ago in order to hunt down the Skrulls. But as soon as they appeared outside the Earth's atmosphere, without even having a chance to land on the Earth's surface, they were attacked by 3 powerful men from the Earth. In that battle, 3 strong men from the Earth relied on their own strength to easily destroy most of the battleships of the Accuser Legion, causing them to abandon their armor and flee. If we can find these 3 powerful Earth heroes, then even if the Accuser Legion is joined by the Chitauri army, the Earth side will have an absolute chance of winning. Upon hearing this, Fury's face, which had just regained some confidence, suddenly changed and collapsed immediately. At the same time, Fury secretly muttered in his heart, "Damn it! I know these 3 people better than you. Okay, if it were so easy to get them to take action, I wouldn't have to regard them as the last resort." When Carol and Anna sent the Tesseract back to Earth, they left him a cosmic communicator. Through this cosmic communicator, Fury can unilaterally send distress signals to them. Both of them also promised that they would rush back to Earth as soon as possible after receiving the news. However, Fury will not use this favor easily unless it is the last moment. And more importantly, although asking Carol and Anna for help, there is a high probability that this crisis can be easily solved. But what about next time? What about the next time? Do we place our hope on their rescue every time? Over time, this will inevitably cause the Earth to suffer from severe dependence, and it will never be able to develop the power to respond to major crises independently. Just like another bald man from a certain DC world said, Superman imprisons mankind into the cradle of comfort, does not give mankind the opportunity to grow in the face of crisis, and weakens the racial potential of mankind. Faced with the huge power gap, Carol and Anna are the Supermans of the Marvel Universe, and Fury, as the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., will never allow humans to fall to their own devices. Therefore, Fury feels that this incident is both a crisis and an opportunity. If it can be handled properly, his long-planned Avengers plan can successfully pass the Security Council's approval through this incident. From now on, the Earth will have its own super crisis team, dedicated to dealing with major crises like this one that ordinary soldiers and S.H.I.E.L.D. agents cannot solve. So Fury will definitely not be satisfied with Gamora's desire to find Elsa, Anna, and Carol. It won't be enough, at least for the time being. So after Fury thought briefly, he told Gamora a lie. "Although I don't want to undermine your confidence, Miss Gamora, the 3 superheroes you mentioned left the Earth soon after defeating the Kree Empire's fleet. You also know that as far as the government is concerned, such powerful people are not allowed to appear on the Earth. As long as they stay on the Earth for one day, those careerists will not let go of studying their rash. So in order to avoid losing control one day due to such harassment, the 3 of them have long stopped living on the Earth." After hearing the news, Gamora felt as if she had been struck by lightning, and her whole body fell into a sluggish state. Originally, she thought that these 3 superheroes should be the hidden power of the Earth. When the Earth faces the threat of being destroyed by invaders, they will definitely stand up to fight against the fleet sent by Thanos and Ronan. But now Fury actually told her that these 3 people had left the Earth decades ago. How will they win in this upcoming war? There is no answer. Even though Gamora racked her brains, she couldn't come up with any idea. Sure enough, am I still too naive? Gamora, who was extremely disappointed, lowered her head and laughed at herself. "Miss Gamora, I think we shouldn't give up hope early. Although the 3 superheroes who once helped the Earth tide over the difficulties have left, many new strange people have been born on the Earth over the years." Seeing that Gamora was starting to give up on herself, Fury quickly opened her mouth to encourage her. After several conversations between them, Kayla has temporarily gained Fury's initial trust. As the king of agents, Fury has learned over his long career never to completely trust anyone. Being able to initially gain his trust is enough to prove that Gamora is indeed a partner worthy of cooperation, at least for the time being. Seeing that what he said attracted Gamora's attention, Fury struck while the iron was hot and continued. "In fact, before we left the experimental base studying Tesseract, I had already asked people to contact the new generation of superheroes on the Earth. They each have their own unique abilities, but they also possess unparalleled wisdom. With their joining, I believe that by working together, we will be able to find a way to fight against the alien invaders. Not only that, you just mentioned Asgard. According to the news I received, their great prince Thor, is on our Earth at the moment, and we have a very deep friendship with Thor. If he can join the team for this operation, maybe we can get support from Asgard and Jotunheim. I never thought you could actually have a relationship with Asgard. Gamora was definitely shocked when she heard the news, but at the same time she was extremely excited. This means that they may really have hope to stop Thanos' ambitions this time. At this moment, Agent Hill, who had been sitting quietly listening to the exchange between the two, suddenly stood up and walked to Fury and said, "Sir, we just received the news from Agent Barton that Thor has agreed to join the Avengers." Oh. After hearing the good news, even Fury, who had always been very calm, couldn't help but show a look of joy. However, Hill soon brought him an even more surprising news. Not only that, according to Thor, his brother, the god of lies and deceit, the king of Jotunheim, Odin, is now on Earth. Thor expressed that he is willing to act as our SHIELDS lobbyist and persuade Loki to join us in this operation. Asking for flowers, asking for collection, asking for monthly tickets. If you like it, please leave a comment and share it. Chapter 125, Part 1. It was learned that Thor had agreed to the invitation of the Avengers project and was also preparing to rope in the king of Jotunheim to join the operation. Even Agent Hill, who relayed the news, could not help but show excitement in his eyes while speaking. Fury and Gamora are definitely excited, thinking that the situation is improving and there is much to be done. After Hill finished speaking, Fury immediately asked her to tell Barton to fully cooperate with Thor in inviting Loki. No matter what the other party's request is, if he can agree to it, he will agree directly. If he can't make the decision, he will report it to Barton. He will reply to Barton in the shortest possible time. After solving the problem of forming Avengers, Fury continued his conversation with Gamora. He needs to have a deeper understanding of the intelligence about the Accuser Legion and the Chitauri army in order to formulate a more detailed and targeted combat plan. Sir Phil Coulson, we are still 40 minutes away from our destination. While Fury and Gamora were brainstorming on the bridge, Phil Coulson had already taken his idol aboard Quinn Jet 07 heading to the space carrier. Does Dr. Banner want to replicate the super soldier serum I was injected with? In the cabin, the captain of the United States, who had just woken up from a 70-year slumber, was looking at the information Phil Coulson brought to him and asking questions. Many people think that, after all, Captain, you are the world's first superhero. Phil Coulson tried to reply in as calm a tone as possible, but it can be seen from the expression on his face that he doesn't know what to do, and he is not at peace at the moment. However, Dr. Banner did not take the initiative to conduct this research. He was deceived by the military project leader. For this reason, Dr. Banner received excessive amounts of gamma-ray radiation during subsequent human experiments and became a huge amount of green monster. Through the technological tablet in his hand, Steve Rogers, the captain of the United States, naturally saw the horror of the monster in Phil Coulson's words. "That's really counterproductive," Steve said with a frown. Phil Coulson nodded silently, agreeing with the captain's point of view. But immediately Phil Coulson went on to say, "Fortunately, Dr. Banner's problems were solved later, and now he can control his own power well and will no longer lose control like in the data. When he is not transforming, Dr. Banner is as smart as Stephen Hawking, but after transforming, he becomes as naughty as a child." However, Steve, who had spent 70 years in the ice, obviously had not had time to understand the development and changes in the scientific community over the years. Regarding the Stephen Hawking mentioned by Phil Coulson, Steve's face clearly showed a very confused look. "Oh, Stephen Hawking is a great scientist. I mean Dr. Banner, he has intelligence far beyond ordinary people." Phil Coulson also saw the change in the captain's expression, so he quickly explained to him. After finishing speaking, Phil Coulson looked at the captain's satisfied expression after getting the answer. Finally, he could no longer suppress the emotions in his heart and confessed to the captain, Captain, I'm really happy to see you active in the world again. In fact, I saw you before when you were still sleeping in the ice. I was right when you were discovered." The scene. "When I learned that the director sent me here to invite you to join us, I felt so honored." Compared to Phil Coulson, who had full confidence in him, Steve said with some worry, "I hope I can live up to your trust." "Don't worry, Captain. You can definitely do it, absolutely. In addition, I asked SHIELDS engineers to make some changes to your uniform and use the latest bulletproof materials. I hope it can provide you with some help." When talking about uniforms, Phil Coulson's eyes started to shine. Definitely, Phil Coulson is not a uniform control guy. But it was hard for Phil Coulson to control his excitement at the thought of his idol reappearing in front of the world wearing the uniform he proposed to modify. Just when Phil Coulson was daydreaming about the captain wearing uniform and killing everyone on the battlefield, the pilot of the fighter plane suddenly reported, "Sir, we are about to arrive at our destination." Hearing this, Phil Coulson and Steve both turned their heads and looked out through the windshield of the cab. As expected, they could already see a huge ship floating on the sea in the vast sea. For the Quinjet, which can take off and land vertically, the pilot easily completed the landing operation, and there was no embarrassing accident of the plane crashing into the sea. Phil Coulson, who had just walked out of the cabin with the captain, saw Natasha Romanoff and Bruce Banner, who were also on the deck. As soon as they met, Natasha Romanoff asked Phil Coulson, "Didn't that guy Stark come with you?" After saying that, she looked at the captain and greeted, "Hello, Captain. I am Agent Natasha Romanoff." Steve also shook his hand politely and responded, "Hello, Steve Rogers." At this time, Phil Coulson also said, "Natasha Romanoff, you know Tony's character, but since he has agreed to our invitation, he will show up sooner or later. Don't forget, he is Iron Man. Hello, I'm Bruce Banner." Although Dr. Banner is not a fan of the captain, as a scientist who has studied super soldier serum, Banner believes that he and the captain are really destined. "Hello, I just heard Phil Coulson introduce you. I'm sorry for the suffering you have experienced," Steve said. "You don't have to be sorry, Captain. This is not your fault. When I heard your story before, I still didn't understand why Dr. Erskine didn't leave any research data on the super soldier serum formula. But now I finally understand that if you don't have the same character and will as you, Captain, then any serum formula created cannot be a super soldier, but just a terrifying monster." With that said, Banner raised his eyes and glanced at Phil Coulson again, and then continued to talk to the captain. "By the way, Captain, Phil Coulson must have fainted with joy when he saw you. He didn't let you be on his Captain of the United States trading card. Sign it." "Trading card? What do you mean?" The captain was confused. Before Banner could explain, Natasha Romanoff interrupted their conversation. "Gentlemen, I suggest you get into the bridge quickly, because it will become difficult to breathe here soon. Asking for flowers, asking for collection, asking for monthly tickets. If you like it, please leave a comment and share it."
Thanks for watching. You can find the next videos in the playlist linked in the info card or directly on my channel.